boys and girls, stand up. Stomp your feet and clap your hands. It's time for Skeet Jones and the magical puppet playhouse.
Come and go with me, we can be free. A place to learn, a place to grow. You can let go, let's have a ball. And that is all. I just want you to come and go with me to a place of peace where everybody can turn their dreams into reality. There's no better place to be than with Skeet. Nope, not at all. My Skeet, come on now. Yeah.
That's right. Come on,
Get ready and clap your hands. Like that. Just like that. Everybody, come on. Yeah.
and that is all.
Come on with Skeet, we can be free. A place to learn, a place to grow. You can just let go, let's have a ball. And that is all. I just want you to come and go with Skeet to a place of peace where everybody can turn their dreams into reality.
What's up, family? What's up, family? It's your boy, Skeet Jones of the Magical Puppet Playhouse, and thank you for joining us, Grandma, Grandpa, boys and girls, teachers, everybody. Hey, happy summer to you. That's right. If you're watching it right now, it is summertime. That's right. Here on the East Coast, and whatever you guys are watching the show at. Skeet, appreciate you guys. Yeah, I really do. And thank you for tuning in. All right, y'all, we got another great show. That's right. This is another part of, this is the second part of a 4-part series. That's right. Now, Skeet got to apologize. We weren't able to produce some of the new videos that we had planned to do for you guys because some of the music came in just a little bit late. And it takes almost 24 hours to produce these videos. Yeah, it's a lot of work editing, y'all. You guys ever think about you want to get into video editing, video shooting? That's right, it's a lucrative field, y'all, lucrative field. A lot of work. Well, anyway, of course you got to go to college or film school, whatever. All right, whatever you want. Well, anyway, Skeet is ready to do his thing. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in a little bit. Enjoy the show.
Abba Yahweh, thank you for being a wonderful blessing to my life. In spite of all the challenges I may face, you've given me the wisdom, the knowledge, insight, and understanding, and you've covered me with your grace and mercy. You blessed me to be an overcomer. Toda! Here we go. I'm an overcomer, I say. The Lord help me be this way. You see me through every day. I love your blessing. I'm an overcomer now, say. Yeah, the Lord help me be this way. I'm an overcomer. I'm an overcomer now. I'm an overcomer now. I'm an overcomer. You blessed me to feel this way, to make it throughout the day. Don't know where the blessings come from, but I know that they're on the way. I believe in your every word, the things that you have to say. I'ma focus on your will. I need you to help me. In these times when I can't see clear, I'm asking you to make a way. Please keep me and then restore me, because you have a better way. Rescue me. Forgive me, Lord, in all my wrongs. For where I was weak, you made me strong. I'm an overcomer, I say. The Lord help me be this way. You see me through every day. I love your blessing. I'm an overcomer now, say. Yeah, the Lord help me be this way. I'm an overcomer. I'm an overcomer now. I'm an overcomer now. I'm an overcomer. As I take the time to pray to you in my secret place, there are changes in my flow that are taking place. You give me power to press on in the morning, and I keep moving up with my eyes on the prize. And I'm praising you for all the things that you've done for me. You keep me sane in the time when there's anarchy. You kept me good in the times when you were mad at me. You took control, blessed my soul, and now I'm so happy. I wanna praise you now, Lord, for the things that you've done for me. You provided light in times I couldn't go any further. Get up and walk, you said. then I started walking. When I live within your word, I stay blessed and I'm so blessed. I'm an overcomer, I say. The Lord help me be this way. You see me through every day. I love your blessing. I'm an overcomer now, say. The Lord help me be this way. I'm an overcomer. I'm an overcomer now. I'm an overcomer, I say, because you made me this way. I'm an overcomer, I say, because you made me this way. I'm an overcomer, I say, because you made me this way. I'm an overcomer, I say, because you made me this way. I'm an overcomer, I say, because you made me this way. I'm an overcomer, I say, because you made me this way. I'm an overcomer, I say, because you made me this way. I'm an overcomer, I'm an overcomer, I'm an overcomer.
Free your mind. Free your mind. Welcome to the life, baby. You got the power. Let's go.
Free your mind and let your body follow. And you let me follow you, yeah. Free your mind and let your body follow.
Free your mind.
Yeah.
Come on.
Here we go. Read and study through the word. I can do that. Understand yourself and know your worth. I'm valued. Learn who you are and find your guiding light. My core values. Walk in good love and walk into the line. It's up to me to live a life that's free. Empower the people to help the people see. We can do that. Life is worth living and giving and living. I know that you're itching to live a life that's free. Free your mind. Free your mind. Let your body follow. And you let me follow you, yeah. Free your mind. And let your body follow.
Say what?
Yeah.
Free your mind.
It's up to me and you to work together. It's like a hand in a glove, two birds of a feather. We gotta work it through and talk about it. Claim victory and never ever doubt it.
Come on.
Be bold in our love and walk in the way of truth. Respecting the elders and support our youth. It's gonna get better, just you work and see. Let's train on our minds to make it free. Free your mind. Free your minds. And let me follow you, yeah.
Free
Free your mind.
and let your body follow. We're in a place and time where we have to learn to love ourselves and one another. Self-respect and dignity in its part are the keys to success. We must learn to study and practice in order to create the life we desire. True winning is the only winning when we are willing to do the work. Sing.
Free your mind. And let your body follow.
Your mind.
And you let me follow you, yeah. Free your mind. And let your body follow. Free your mind. And let your body follow. And you let me follow you, yeah.
Get it, get it.
Free your mind. And let your body follow.
Let your body follow.
Free your mind.
Where two or three come together in my name. Where two or three come together in my name. Where two or three come together in my name. I am there with them. Everybody. Where two or three come together in my name. Where two or three come together in my name. Where two or three come together in my name. I am come together in my name, I am there with them. Where two or three come together in my name, where two or three come together in my name, where two or three come together in my name, I am there with them. I am there with them. I am there with them. Two or three come together in my name.
Hello, boys and girls. My name is Lady Wisdom, and I am here to read with Skeet this beautiful, beautiful children's book entitled I Decide by June Saunders Grayson, illustrated by Mac Kahn. So here we go with I Decide. My father's always saying, do the best you can. If you feel that you are giving up, pause, then try again. You ever feel that way? My mother's always saying, do what's in your heart. Trust your faith to give you guidance to finish what you start. Mother knows best. I listen to my parents, though I like the things I say. My parents always guide me, but it's me who steers my way. For whenever I walk out of my home, I'm responsible for me, including the way I conduct myself for all the world to see. Will I lead or will I follow? Do my friends reflect me well? Am I respectful to my elders? Someone's secrets, do I tell? Do I care when others tease me? Do I let them bring me down? Do I raise my fist in anger, or do I calmly turn around? I'm in charge of all my actions, for the mirror doesn't hide. Every morning when I wake up, I can look at it with pride. And that is I Decide by June Saunders Grayson, illustrated by Mac Kahn. And we thank Miss Grayson for allowing us to share I Decide. And I Decide can be found on your favorite retail platforms. So I hope you enjoyed that. I know you enjoyed that. I enjoyed reading it to you. And as you continue to go throughout your day, to school and all of your activities and playing with your friends and your sisters and brothers, remember Miss June Saunders Grayson's I Decide. Until next time, this is Read with Skeet, and I am Lady Wisdom. Have a great rest of your day.
You know, we got to get this thing together here.
I know what you're talking about.
We got to let them know that they got to give God the praise.
Got to do that.
All they got to do is get up.
And get their praise on.
Right here.
Praise the Lord.
When I think about all you done for me, when I think about your love that made me free, when I think about it, I just wave my hand. Get up off my feet and start to do my dance, oh yeah. Come on. Come on and lift your hands. Come on and get your praise on. If you believe it. Tell the world you've been good to me. Got to tell the world about this crazy me. I've got to tell the world how you make me feel. God, this crazy me, and I just can't be still. Oh no. Come on. Come on and get your praise on. Do you dance? If you believe it, come on with me. Come on. Tell the world all about it. Gotta stand up and shout it. Just how good he's been to me. Gotta stand up and shout it. Tell the world all about it. Gotta stand up and shout it. Just how good he's been to me. Clap your hands. Come on. Do your dance. Clap your hands. Come on. Just shout cause he made you free. Everybody get on your feet. Just shout cause he made you free. Oh yeah. Get on your feet. Just shout cause he made you free. I wanna dance. I wanna sing. Lift up my hands. I got to shout. Move your feet. I wanna sing. Come on and sing. I wanna sing. Come on and shout. Lift up my hands. Lift up my hands. Oh yeah. Come on y'all. Come on y'all. Hey. Come on. Come on, y'all. Get up. I don't think they heard us. I don't think so. Somebody needs to be moving like this.
Wow, that was a great music video. My producer Jerry Lewis did a great job on Hickory Dickory Dock. Man, I really loved that video. And PJ looked good. Let me see what else is on TV. Oh wow, look. That's my boy Derek Spears from Derek Books. Oh Derek, what you doing on my TV?
Is that you? Skeet, listen to me. You need to get down here right now to this bookstore. I've never seen anything like this. I mean, every book, everything in this store is written by this one person. Skeet, don't play with me. I'm so serious. Look, you got the books called The Bookworm. Movies, t-shirts. Skeet, you need to hurry up and get down here. I'm trying to get you in here before everybody else get here. You think I'm playing with you?
Yeah, Derek, don't worry. Skeet gonna be down there. Me and the Magical Puppet Playhouse. Positive Nation Pop Band, we will be there to check out your bookstore at www.derekbooks.com. What's up, boys and girls? What's up, grandpa, grandma, and guardians? This is your boy, the host of the Skeet Jones and Magical Puppet Playhouse. I am Skeet Jones, and I'm here with some wonderful news. Skeet is here with some good news, y'all. That's right, we need some good news in this world. Skeet is now on Star Search. Right, you can get Skeet on all major networks. That's right, the Magical Puppet Playhouse on all major networks on Star Search. That ain't true. That ain't true. What did I tell you? Oh, my bad. Were you sleep through the meeting? Yeah. Well, anyway, I got some good news, y'all. The good news is Skeet is now featuring some nice young talent. Young talent. If you can sing or dance, please send in your reel to Skeet Jones. That's right. You can catch me at jerryvoicelive@gmail.com because Skeet don't check his own email. But if you want to, you can send it at Skeet Jones at skeetjones.tv. But better off sending it to jerryvoicelive@gmail.com because Skeet don't have his own computer. That's right. So anyway, featuring new talent, so send it in and you can be on my show. That's right. You can open Skeet show. That's right. So get that in and we're going to have a good time, y'all. So you need an example of what we need. Check out this feature right here. That's Gianni. That's right. She did a great job, y'all. All right, y'all. But look, I will see you Monday through Friday or Saturday on Skeet Jones and the Magical Puppet Playhouse. Take care, boys and girls, and see you soon. And get those videos in real soon. Don't forget to email me so we can get your permission from your parents. Amen. Bye-bye, y'all. Take care, y'all. Don't forget, it take a village of puppets to raise a child. And their parents, too. Bye-bye.
Late at night when all the world is sleeping, I stay up and think of you. And I wish on a star that somewhere you are thinking of me too. 'Cause I'm dreaming of you tonight till tomorrow. I'll be holding you tight, and there's nowhere in the world I'd rather be than here in my room, dreaming about you and me.
Subtle shots.
Let the dancing begin.
Yo, what's up, God's people? I am yours truly, the turntable minister, DJ Matt Cummins. Get ready to collaborate with my brother, God's warrior. So right now, I'm asking all of you to report to the dance floor and do your holy dance. So let's drop the beat and make it go down low. On your mark, get set, y'all ready, let's go!
I don't do this for money or rap to be cool, but to glorify the Most High with this infallible truth. And I will represent him until he comes back on earth. I represent him like a man of Geo in concert. Not trying to make fans, but disciples and converts. Reaching the people who are lost, unsaved, and unchurched. Everywhere from the birds to the hood, lifting up the name of Jesus, letting them know that it's good. So hit the floor, do your dance, yeah, you got another chance. Don't try to figure out my praise, cause you wouldn't understand. I owe the debt, but Jesus paid it. So I'ma hit the floor and dance for him like David. Y'all don't understand, God had a plan. No, I didn't deserve it, but I got a second chance. I'ma do my dance, I'ma do my dance. How you do that on the dance? How you do that on the dance? When the praises go up, the blessings come down. When that beat drop, bro, you know it's going down. I'ma do my dance, I'ma do my dance. How you do that on the dance? How you do that on the dance? My boy DJ Mac in the mix, he got the salt what was bumping. We on the move for Christ with no plans of stopping. Like Usain Bolt, this race I am running. We reppin' the rock and I don't mean Dwayne Johnson. Coming hard with the whole truck. Disrespect, that's the wrong move. He's the way, truth, and the life. You can live if you want to. For him, nothing I won't do. And all the trials that I've gone through, I learned to put my trust in him. Fail me is what he won't do. God, let your spirit hit this place till I fall on my face. By your word I am changed. There's no pain you can take, there's no chain you can break. No claim you was break, you never made a mistake. So we worshiping you, we marching on the field for you like a HBCU. God, you did me a huge favor. I'ma do my dance like a drum major. Y'all don't understand, God had a plan. No, I didn't deserve it, but I got a second chance. I'ma do my dance, I'ma do my dance. How you do that on the dance? How you do that on the dance? When the praises go up, the blessings come down. When that beat drop, bro, you know it's going down. I'ma do my dance, I'ma do my dance. How you do that on the dance? How you do that on the dance? Dancing.
Hey family, this is Paula G, and sometimes our negative mindset can hinder our progress. We have to unlock that negative mindset and create a new narrative in our minds so that we can move forward. And my Mindset Journey Masterclass can help you do just that. You can visit my website, paulagvoice.com, for more information. Embrace the journey. Greetings and welcome to my journey with Paula G, where we are juggling this journey called life while we're walking in the gifts and the talents that God has given us. Thank you so much for joining us. I am your host, Paula G, and I so appreciate you being with us. If this is your first time on the journey, welcome. Thank you so much for choosing us. We appreciate you being here. And if you are a returning listener or a viewer, excuse me, y'all. Thank you so much for being with us. We certainly appreciate you because, I tell you all each and every week, time is precious. It is the one thing that you cannot get back. So for you to think it not robbery to spend this time with us is truly, truly appreciated. We also want to thank those who are embracing the journey through their underwriting support, and that would be our underwriters. Without them, we would not have the means to provide this programming for you. So we really appreciate our underwriters, and we thank them so much for embracing us on the journey. And if you are interested in embracing us on the journey, and you have a business, product, or service that you'd like to gain exposure in front of an audience, reach out to us at jerryvoicelive@gmail.com or Paula at paulagvoice.com. Put underwriting opportunities in the subject line, and we will be sure to follow up with you as well. Also, I encourage you to like, share, subscribe across all social media platforms. I am Paula G Voice across all platforms. My website is paulagvoice.com, where you can go and find out a little bit more about Paula G, my radio history, television here, of course. I'm an author and some other things that you can take a look at. I'm so proud of this. That you can take a look at, when you are on this journey pursuing what it is that God has ordained you, or God has approved, if you will, for you to pursue. You've got to go full force. And if you don't support yourself and promote yourself and encourage yourself and share those gifts and talents with confidence, no one else will. And no one else will embrace you on your journey. So you've got to own what it is that God has gifted you with according to the talents He has given you. So I encourage each and every one of you to embrace the journey that God has set before you. All right. Well, today I want to talk with you all a bit about choices. And I think the last time that we were having this conversation, I mentioned that, maybe we need to do a part two. So here is your part two in regard to choices. And I want to go back to the scripture that we referenced in our previous episode. It was Genesis 3, verse 2, but I read a little bit further along than verse 2. The woman said to the serpent, "We may eat from the trees in the garden, but God did say," let me do that again. The woman said to the serpent, "We may eat from the trees in the garden, but God did say, you must not eat from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die." "You will not certainly die," the serpent said to the woman. "For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. And she also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made coverage for themselves. Then the man and his wife heard the sound of the Lord God as he was walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and they hid from the Lord God among the trees of the garden. But the Lord God called to the man, "Where are you?" He answered, "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." And he said, "Well, who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" The man said, "Well, the woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it." Now, that whole, "well, she gave it to me and I ate it" thing, that might be a conversation for another day, because he's just throwing his woman under the bus. Anyway, that is not our focus today. We're going to stay focused on choices. So we can see here in this scripture that because of the choices that Eve and Adam made, there were consequences to those choices. And in the previous episode, I mentioned to you all that when I was counseling students and in the education system, and I would have students that would be brought or sent or come to my office because of something either they had done or it was suspected they were about to do. And I used to tell my students all the time, when you make a choice, when you make a decision, you automatically inherit the consequence of that choice or the decision, be it a positive consequence or a negative consequence. So let's say, for example, I would have a student that had a history of skipping class. So I would call them down, and maybe it was a day where, the teacher was just fed up with them skipping, and I would call them down and say, look, I can't babysit you in the classroom. I would prefer that you made the choice to stay in class and get education, get some knowledge. But if you choose otherwise, it is your choice. But know that you will inherit the consequence of that choice, whether it's a positive one, a negative one, whether you are presently aware of what it will be now or not. And then later, student comes back and the consequence was not one that the student would have imagined. Well, I didn't know that that was going to happen. Again, I say, when we make choices, when we make decisions, we inherit the consequences of those choices. We inherit the consequences of those decisions. So we have to be very thoughtful about the choices that we make in our lives. The choices that Eve and Adam made changed the trajectory of mankind. It changed the trajectory. Why did they make those choices? Because they were listening to the wrong voice. You all know I close the show with the phrase every time that the greatest conversation you will ever have is the one that takes place in between your ears. What are you speaking to yourself? Is God a part of that conversation? And are you listening to his still small voice? When I say things with intention. I don't, just say them because it sounds good at the end of the show. With intention, and this is a great example. Was Eve listening to God's still small voice in that moment? She was listening to the serpent. And what the serpent was saying sounded good. And somewhere I learned, and I can't remember where I learned in some Bible study or listening to a preacher or something. And it spoke of men are enticed and tempted by their eye gate. Women are enticed and tempted by our ear gate and what we hear. So the serpent spoke to that ear gate and enticed and tempted Eve to take from that tree, the fruit from that tree. And, in a lot of accounts of this particular scenario, we assume or hear or heard or been told it was an apple. I don't know if it was an apple or not because the word, did I say apple in there? I don't think I said apple. I think I said fruit. And every translation that I have read, I haven't read them all, of course, speaks to fruit. So we don't know what the fruit was. All we know is that Eve listened to the serpent, listened to the voice of the serpent, made a choice, and inherited the consequence of that choice. And at the time, she didn't know what the consequence was. So it was an unknown consequence, which in turn changed the trajectory of not only her life, Adam's life, Adam's life, but the generations to follow. And that is something that we need to be mindful of as well. The choices that we make in our lives could change the trajectory of the generations to follow us. And you think about that if you've had that experience or if you can relate to that or apply that in your life, maybe the choices that a relative made, how it has changed the trajectory of your life or the lives of other family members, or a choice that you've made that changed not only the trajectory of your life, but the lives of those around you. So we really must be mindful of the choices we make, the decisions we make, and think through those choices and think through those decisions and how they will affect the next generation to come. We're going to take a break. And when we come back on the flip side of the break, I want to talk a little bit more about choices and how it changes the trajectory of not only our lives, but the lives of others, and what that could mean for us moving forward in our future. So this is My Journey with Paula G. I am your host, Paula G. If you're just joining us, thank you so much for joining us. We're talking about choices. We're going to take a break and we'll be back in a moment.
Hello there. This is Kevin Wayne Johnson. I am the Chief Executive of the Johnson Leadership Group, based in Clarksville, Maryland, and the author of this series of books titled Leadership with a Servant's Heart. We want you to know better, do better, and lead better. In this world, our leaders are not delivering what the employees are looking for. And great leaders are those men and women who are able to align their subject matter expertise with their heart, being compassionate and being empathetic, and also valuing, caring, respecting, and honoring those that we are responsible for in terms of development and coaching and mentoring. So Leadership with a Servant's Heart will help you to get there. Get your copy today everywhere that books are sold. Kevin Wayne Johnson. See you soon.
Welcome back to My Journey with Paula G. I am your host, Paula G. And I'm so glad that you all have joined us. And I want to give another shout out to our underwriters for their underwriting support and helping us to have the means to be able to bring you this programming, as well as a shout out to our producer, Jerry Voice Live Worldwide. Positive Power 21, the Weekend Channel. Make sure you check out our episodes on the Weekend Channel. Okay, so before the break, we were talking about choices, and we were referring to the scripture, Genesis 3, well, I said 2, but I read a few more voices, and the scenario where the serpent tempted Eve to take from the forbidden fruit, the forbidden tree. She made the choice to eat the fruit from the tree, and the consequences, of course, were devastating, not only for her and Adam, but for the generations to follow. And we were talking a bit about choices and how the choices that we make, we inherit the consequences, positive, negative, known or unknown choices, and how they can affect the rest of our lives, not always, but they can affect the rest of our lives and affect the lives of those that are near and dear to us. They can change the trajectory of not only our future, but the future of our family, future of our family members. And there were years ago, I worked for years with young people, and I still mentor some today, although they're now adults. They were teenagers when I first started mentoring them, and now they are adults. Some of them are married with their own children. So, it's so interesting. I started out with them, in high school. They were 13, 14 years old, and, making sure they go to class and they do their homework and their grades, and, helping them with their academic issues, their social, emotional issues. And now I'm getting invited to weddings and baptisms and baby showers, and they're now adults, and it's so surreal, but it is so rewarding, to still have a lot of these students in my life. But I digress. I want to share with you a story in regard to a student that I had some years ago. And I was working in an at-risk program, and this was one of my students in the at-risk program. Smart, bright young man, had a future if he had stayed on the right path, because this particular at-risk program, those students were there who had dropped out of high school and were back pursuing their education. Very smart, very smart, very smart. But he was involved in some gang activity. And we would have conversations in the class. I would have conversations with the entire class, and a lot of times I'd have conversations with individuals. And I always had this conversation about the choices that you make. You inherit the consequences, positive or negative, known or unknown. I would say that to them all the time, and it would be, oh, Miss Ferguson, you tripping. It's all right. I'm cool. I'm cool. There ain't nothing gonna happen to me. It's all good. I'm Superman. I'm invincible. And sometimes I would just say, I know you feel that way, but again, the choices that we make, we inherit the consequences of those choices, be they positive consequences or negative, known or unknown. Be careful who you keep company with. Be careful who you hang out with. This, it could change the rest of your life. And day after day, when he would come to class, I would encourage him as well as the other students, to stay focused on what you're here for, to get your education. Your education can open the doors for so many experiences in life that you may not otherwise have the opportunity to engage in or have. So you got to stay focused, and you got to stay focused on your education. And he was doing well, math, his science, all of the classes, math, science, social studies, all of them. He would do well when he would come to class. Sometimes he wouldn't come to class. I wouldn't see him, for a week or two. And then he would come to class. But then when he would come to class, he would just catch up so quickly. And that's how smart this young man was. And there was a period of time where he was coming to class. Sometimes he'd come late. And then I didn't see him for maybe 2 weeks or so. Called, no response from the parent or him. And then finally, after a couple of weeks, got a phone call from mom, informing us that he had been shot and that he was in the hospital, had been in the hospital those 2 weeks fighting for his life. Y'all, I'm gonna tell you, when I heard that, my heart I almost couldn't breathe. Because in all the years of working with young people, I often took it home with me. I often took them home in heart and spirit, because they almost became like my children. Even though I was their counselor or the instructor, a lot of times they would call me Mama Ferg. I had all kinds of nicknames for me, but Mama Ferg. So I almost felt like I was an extension of a parent for them. So she said that's why I hadn't called, because I've been by his side. He's been in ICU and he's fighting for his life. We don't know if he's going to make it. And we just started from then on, we just started praying and praying and praying and praying, because everyone in that office were firm believers in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and were firm believers in prayer, and we prayed every day. And I went, I shared it with the rest of the class, and you could hear a pin drop. And I said to them, not in a chastising way. Actually, I think I wrote it on the board that day. I just wrote it on the board, because I would have a journal question at the beginning of class. So I just wrote that on the board, and I just asked them just to write. Didn't really have a question. The choices we make, we inherit the consequences of the choices, be they positive or negative. About 2 months later, he returns to class. And he came after class. His mom brought him after class. We had set up a meeting for him to return to class, because we had to implement some things. And he comes through the door. He was about that big. He wasn't that big of a young man anyway, but he was about that big. And he was wearing a colostomy bag, I think is what you call it. Because where he was shot, his intestines were damaged. So he wasn't able to relieve himself like we normally do. He had to have the relief into the bag. And I don't want to get too graphic, but you all understand what I'm saying. So he came back to class, and we implemented some things. He had to use, go to the restroom frequently. So, I always have the students to let me know when they need to, excuse themselves. To avoid, bringing attention to himself or embarrassment, I would just simply have him, just put his hand up like that. And I would nod and he would go do what he had to do and come back. Sometimes he was gone a long time, but he would come back and he would do his work. And it came time for him to test out. And we tried to get accommodations for him, but the accommodations were not approved. So, and one of the accommodations was for him to have extra time. It wasn't approved. So he had to take the test within the time allotted, which was a challenge because he was frequently getting up to go to the restroom. So I was with him pretty much the whole time that he was testing, just to make sure that he was okay and if he needed anything. But the frequent trips back and forth, sometimes he took a while, his time was ticking away. He was smart and he could get the test done if he had gotten the extended time. But because of the frequent trips that he had to make, he wound up testing a couple times before he actually passed. But I just remember him sitting there and saying to me, he was looking at the screen, he was looking at his test. After maybe the third or fourth time he had come back from the restroom. And he said, Miss Paula, I should have listened to you. And in that moment, I just hugged him around his shoulders because, he had his hand on the mouse and he was trying to answer the question. And his eyes got watery, as did mine. I just hugged him from behind. Neither one of us said a word. Neither one of us said a word because in that moment, the realization of what I was saying came to fruition. The trajectory of the rest of his life was established in that moment that he got shot. He may never be able to have children. He may always have to utilize that bag. And from my understanding at that time, he would always have to utilize that bag. So the decision he made to go out and join his gang members that evening changed the trajectory of his life. And he inherited that consequence. And it was so heartbreaking for me at that time. It was so heartbreaking at that time to have to witness that with my student. And I share that with you all because, again, the choices that we make in our lives, we've got to be thoughtful about those choices. We've got to be prayerful. Do they line up with God's will for our lives? We've got to think about the decisions that we make of our actions and our speech. We've come to the end of our journey. And our time goes so quickly. I always say that, but our time goes so quickly. And perhaps we'll continue this conversation in another episode as well. But choices, my brothers and sisters, choices that you make. Be prayerful about what it is that you do and make sure it's according to God's will and it's in alignment with his will. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for tuning in, for listening, for watching from wherever you are. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe, continue to embrace us on the journey, Paula G Voice, across all social media platforms. Thank you so much to our underwriters, Jerry Royce Live Worldwide, Positive Power 21 Christian Media, the Weekend Channel. Make sure you check us out. And as always, remember that the greatest conversation you will ever have is the one that takes place in between your ears. What are you speaking to yourself? Is God a part of that conversation? Are you listening? Are you listening? Are you listening to his still small voice? Until next time, take care, make good choices, and make sure that you embrace the journey that God has set before you.
Hello, this is Dr. V, and I just want to say congratulations to Paula G and Jerry Ross Live. Paula G of WATC out of Atlanta, Georgia, of My Journey with Paula G. Just celebrating almost 5 years, their 5th anniversary in television. We just want to congratulate them. They're doing a wonderful job. We pray that God will continue to use them to reach the masses. They are doing a wonderful work. Continue to tune in to them because there is no better persons than Jerry Ross Live and Paula G that is doing television on this planet. God bless them richly and abundantly. Amen.
Hello, hello. I am Coach Crystal Henry. I'm a success coach who is made to lead millions. I'm a 5-time Amazon best-selling author, an anthologist, and a speaker, media host featured on over 14 magazines, billboards, and media sites. Did you know that I was muzzled in ministry, but I have taken the choice to no longer remain silent? I have overcome being oppressed and suppressed in corporate America, and it's my business to coach you from your what if to your what is. So you are experiencing the Crystal Henry Show, and I want to welcome you in to my space and into this place. I have a word, a message for you today, and it's called predicament. Some of us have been in some predicaments that we don't know how to get out of. So that's what I'm going to be talking to you about. I'm a Christian, so I'm going to be coming from the Word of God. I'll be reading from the New King James Version or the Amplified Version. But whichever way, you will be crystal clear. You will have an understanding and you will be excited and blessed. It'll be something that you can use in your day-to-day life or something that you can use to help somebody else. So again, welcome. I need you to get back, get your pen, your paper, get your word, and go with me to 1 Kings chapter 3. I'm going to talk about a special story that pertains to 2 women that were having an issue. Have you ever had an issue with your friend, your roommate? Have you ever had an issue that was so intense that you needed counsel, that you needed somebody to give you some wisdom and some help? Well, help is here. Take this story out of the Bible and use it to make a difference, a change, a transformation in your life. So again, we're coming from 1 Kings chapter 3, and I'm going to read a portion of it. You'll get the gist. It'll be okay. And the word of God reads 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 16. Now 2 women who were harlots came to the king and stood before him. One of the women said, "Oh, my Lord, this woman and I dwell in the same house, and I gave birth while she was in the house. Then it happened the 3rd day after I had given birth that this woman also gave birth, and we were together. No one else was with us in the house except for the 2 of us in the house. And this woman's son died in the night because she lay on him. So she arose in the middle of the night and took my son from my side while my maidservant slept, and laid him on her bosom, and then laid her dead son on my bosom. And when I rose in the morning to nurse my son, there he was dead. But when I had examined him in the morning, indeed, it was not my son that I had born. Then the other woman said, "No, but the living son is my son, and the dead son is your son." And the first woman said, "No, but the dead one is your son, and the living one is my son." And thus they spoke before the king. So I'm going to stop right there. That was verse 16 through 22. So have you ever been in such a predicament that was a life and death matter? And some of our circumstances really feel like life and death matters, but they're not. But I love this example. 2 women arguing over their sons, days old. They were arguing. They were women that were not what we call the best, the cream of the crop, the smartest, the most talented. They didn't have husbands, but they came together. Back in this day, in the Bible times, a harlot was a woman of the night, was a woman on the corner. I'm trying to be diplomatic for the different places that this video may show up in, but she was a woman that had not so many morals or scruples according to the society around them. But what they did what they had to do to live and provide for themselves and their families. And so they were in a situation that was a life or death matter. One woman's son died, the other woman's son lived. One woman was telling the truth and the other one was lying. And I know I've been in situations like that where one was telling the truth and one was lying against me, about me, to me. I've had people come to me and ask, how can you help me? Which one do you think is true? How does this work? I've seen all of that before. But in this situation, they had to find counsel. They had to find someone that could help them right this wrong, that could help them through this situation. And so what they did was they went to the king. Now, there's a scripture in the Bible from Proverbs 11 and 14, and that one says, where no counsel is, the people fall. But in the multitude of counsel, there is safety. So that means that if you can't work something out between you and the other person, you need to find somebody that will be that mediator. So what they did was they went to the king. And back then, the king was also a judge. And the king would also be the one that had a lot of wisdom, that had people around him with wisdom. And so the scripture in Proverbs 11 and 14 really helps us, really shows us that you need wisdom. You need somebody else that can help you out of your life and death situation or help you out of your predicament. Now, the word predicament means a difficult, unpleasant, or embarrassing situation. How about this situation, two women of the night, two women that were fighting over their sons. This was embarrassing, this was unpleasant, and this was difficult. A woman whose son was alive is not somebody that wanted to bury their son or somebody else's son. A woman whose son is alive didn't want to sit back and look at somebody else raising her son. So they had to work this situation out. And the place to go was to the king. And so what they did, verse 23 says, and the king said, the one that says, this is my son who lives, and the son, and your son is dead, and the one that spoke that says, no, but your son is dead, and the other one is living. He was like, okay, y'all are telling me, each one is telling me the same story about the other one, so how do I choose? This is what the king did that was crazy, that was out of nowhere. In verse 24, in 1 Kings 3 and verse 24, it says, then the king said, bring me a sword so that I can cut the living child in two and give half to one and half to the other. Who does that? Who says that? They were in a predicament already. A predicament is what? Something difficult, unpleasant, and embarrassing, a dilemma, a hardship, something that was in a clutch situation, something that caused a plight, like you're ready to run, you're ready to like, wait, I thought I was coming to somebody with wisdom, and they're saying, cut my son in half. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? And so as a leader, I'm talking to the leader, I'm talking to the ones that will help somebody out of a predicament. See, I'm talking from, I've been in a predicament before, but I'm also talking from the point of view as a leader that says, hey, let's get a quick decision. This is embarrassing, this is difficult, but what do I do as a leader to give good counsel? The king said, bring me a sword. The king said, get that sword, cut the baby in half and give half to one and half to the other. That's going to solve this situation. But let's take a deeper look at that. So the king took a drastic measure against a predicament, something that's embarrassing, something that's hard, something that's difficult. And he took a drastic measure. That was something radical, extreme, strong measure to bring about a clear answer. How is he going to get a clear answer from cutting a baby in half? Don't go away. Don't change the channel. Don't turn from here. Lean in and write this down. As a leader, you got to come to a conclusion. As a leader, you got to consider all the evidence that's before you. As a leader, you got to bring about a resolution. You got to resolve the problem, resolve the issue, right? So a leader is one that makes decisions. A leader is one that weighs and considers the evidence, considers the options. What will come from this, out of this? A leader will judge quickly, but not too quickly where he gets the wrong answer. A leader uses discernment. Discernment. Let's get into this next part of this scripture because I want you to understand how this king discerned who was the rightful mother of the living child and the rightful mother of the child that was deceased. Okay, you ready? Let's keep going. We are still in 1 Kings chapter 3, but we are in verse 26, and it reads, "Then the woman whose son was living spoke to the king, for she yearned with compassion for her son, and she said, 'My Lord, give her the living child, and by no means kill him. Don't kill him.' But the other said, 'Let him be neither mine nor yours, but divide him.'" That's discernment. The king already knew that the mother of the living child would have compassion on her son and would rather allow her son to live with a treacherous woman, allow her son to live, and maybe she could get him back, months later, weeks later, years later, rather would see her living son live than to be killed like the other woman's son. That king made a drastic decision, made an extreme decision, made an emotional decision that would make the two mothers emotionally express their love, express what was really in them. You know what it expressed? It exposed the cruelty and the evil and the bitterness and the hurt of the mother who was grieving over her deceased child. It pulled out that sin, like, okay, my son's dead, so let her son be dead too. See, when we get into predicaments, when we get into life and death matters, it matters who's around you. See, when you're going through trials and tribulations, when you're going through trouble, when you think that you don't know how you're going to make it out or make it through this situation, when you are emotionally exhausted, when you have been crying and in pain and in fear, you need to understand who's around you. Are they for you? Are they against you? Even if you are living in the same household, some people can be against you and some people can be for you. So when you are in a predicament, I need you as a person in the midst of trouble, in the midst of a situation, in the midst of a trial, I need you to look around and see, are they for me? Are they cruel? Are they evil? It will be exposed in the middle of your predicament. Are they good? Are they right? Are they for me? Do they have passion for me? Will they really help me? That's when you know your friends are your friends. That's when you know some of your friends are really your frenemies. That's when you get that type of understanding, okay? Get that type of understanding. So when we are going through trials, that's why some people can say, my trials have trials, my troubles have trials and tribulations. That's why we can say those things, because the pressure will cause different instances or different exposure to show up. So again, when you're in a predicament, look for the good, look for the right, look for the justice, look for the peace, look for the love, look for the help, but also see the cruelty, the evil, the meanness, the usury, because people will use you. Let what your eyes see and what your ears see is the truth, okay? What your eyes see and what your ears see is the truth. The lady knew, the mother of the living child knew the other lady was not for her son and not for her when this whole predicament came about. But what the king did was he did something drastic to bring out the truth, okay? He made sure that it was what? Crystal clear. So the king in verse 27, it says in 1 Kings 3:27, so the king answered and said, give the first woman the living child and by no means kill him. She is the mother. That's discernment. Remember when I gave those points? A leader makes decisions. A leader will use drastic measures to bring about a clear understanding or a quick decision. The leader uses discernment to get that decision or to get the right decision or the right judgment. And so in verse 27, this is the answer the king gave. He said, give the first woman the living child, for by no means kill him, because she is the mother. She is the one that had compassion. She is the one that he could hear the passion. He could see the passion. It was heartfelt. He could see the love that she had for the child. But the woman of the deceased child, she was already bitter. She was already angry. She was already grieving. She was mad. She didn't want anyone else's child, anyone else to have peace, love, joy. Okay? And so as a leader, we've got to understand that when we are helping people with their predicaments. And then as someone that's in that situation, you've got to know that if you go to the right counsel, if you go to a leader that is wise, that has wisdom all around, you will get hopefully the right answer. So I hope this story in the Bible, this history, I like to call it, in 1 Kings 3, verse 16 through 27, I hope that touched your heart. I hope that got into your mind and your spirit, and I hope that will help you. See, I'm Coach Crystal. I'm a success coach. I use visibility to help people be encouraged, to help people become successful. And I coach people from their what ifs to their what is. These particular women had a what if. The woman lost her son. What if I stole that other woman's baby and got the judge to say it was okay? There was a woman of the living child. She said, I've got to take my living child to the judge so that I can hopefully get him back. There was that predicament, something that was difficult, unpleasant, and embarrassing. But the mother of the living child got to keep her baby. I hope your situation works out. I hope your predicament gets better. And I hope this message encouraged you. What I need you to do is get connected with me. Again, my name is Coach Crystal Henry. I need you to go to my website, crystalhenry.net. crystalhenry.net. And so I hope that you enjoyed this particular chapter, this particular message on the Crystal Henry Show. And I hope you come back and see me. There's another great show just around the corner. So have a great day. Again, crystalhenry.net. And thanks for viewing the Crystal Henry Show.
Stories help us to understand the world around us. They allow us to laugh. They allow us to cry. They give us the ability to feel and provide us with an outlet to heal. Join me as I get to know some of the amazing people behind the stories that we read in order to truly discover the story that has been hidden within each of us. My name is Bree Smith, and this is the Author Push Talk Show. Welcome to the Author Push Talk Show. I am your host, Bree Smith, and today we have a powerful young woman who will be talking to us about women empowerment. Welcome to the show, Jasmine Tillman. Thank you, Jasmine, for being here today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
No problem at all. So can you tell us who Jasmine Tillman is?
Yes, so I'm a self-published author, of course, a life coach, a life purpose coach, actually, and a motivational speaker. I'm from Toledo, Ohio, and I'm just, a young girl trying to find her way.
Amen. I know today we're talking about your devotional journal, Get a Grip, Will Ya? And I had the pleasure of just reading a little bit of it. I haven't finished it yet, but from what I read, it was incredibly powerful in Women Empowerment Journal. So can you tell us just a little bit more about your journal, your devotional journal you wrote for women?
Yeah, so when I wrote my journal, this was a dedication to ladies because when I first was looking for what I wanted to be in life coaching field, before I even figure out what the name, I wanted to be a life coach. I just knew counselor or someone that wanted to help people. And I was going to start off with women, but I really like, helping everyone. So I dedicated this journal to women and women finding their way, and also just looking at it through my eyes, seeing the things that I've went through and overcame as being a young woman that I am. And I wanted to apply that to others' lives so they can also see that we can get over, we can do this, we can push mountains if we allowed ourselves to. And this is the one thing that I wanted to really stretch in my journal.
Amen. So like dive a little bit into like the different type of things you talked about. I know you had talked about your father and him being in jail. You also had talked about in the book even struggling with some identity issues, like wanting to fit in and trying to please other people, even relationships. Can you dive a little bit into those?
Yes. Yes. So with my father, my father figure was my grandfather. He passed 2/22/13. That's how I remember it straight off. But February 22nd, 2013. And this was really a struggle with me because also had my brother figure, which was my cousin. So it was just it was a struggle because when they, because my cousin, he went to prison at a young age and my grandfather passed. So, my father was in and out of the justice system for a long time. And, because he had us when we were children, but it was hazy, I was a child. So growing up in teenage years, he wasn't around, I believe he was probably going through an identity thing himself, and he wasn't around, and it really took a toll on me. So it caused me to go out and look for that love that I didn't receive from him, and that same love that I had from my grandfather before he went, past with God, and my cousin, So it's like I was lost, for a very long time. And it's like I erased my entire past life. I didn't want to talk about it, I didn't want to think about it. But this was another thing that was stopping me from reaching my true potential because I was trying to avoid these things instead of indulging in them and getting over them and owning them because we're all human. And these are things that I really learned, coming up and growing up and paying attention to my elders, paying attention to them and understanding that the reasons why they have these traumas and they pass them down on us, the other generation. So that's my main goal, is trying to wipe the next generation of children and teens and, even adults, from the past generation, to really see that we can do this and we can be positive. It's all up to us. So that's one of the huge things, I struggled with for a long time was with my ex. They say that teen years with the relationships, they not really, oh, that's just, and I understand that, but this person, this is what's making us who we are, like this is molding us as we're finding ourselves in our teenage years. That's when we love the hardest. Well, in my opinion, that's when I love the hardest. So that's, I just wanted to breach all of those things and, just really, I, I gave it all. I gave it my all, and I wasn't ashamed of anything that I went through anymore. And I was just wanted to shine my light.
Amen. Like you touched on a lot of good points, and I want to come back to that shame point in a little bit. But I want to also talk about the daddy figure, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of times, especially as Black women, right? One of two things. You are blessed if you have a father and he's a great father that's in the home. Yes. But then there's also too, like if you grew up in like impoverished situations, we call it the hood, Your father could have been, in and out of jail, or your father could have been, running the streets, or your father could have been, abusive. And for me, I know growing up, my father, even though he was present, but he was abusive. You know what I mean? Because he suffered from alcoholism and things like that. And so I know that really played a lot into my identity, because I remember it was like one time my dad had really literally told me he had wished he flushed me down the toilet. And that kind of stuck with me as a child. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, wow, if your own father don't love you, who else is going to love you? And so I'm sitting there trying to run out and find love everywhere, from friends, from relationships, didn't even care with who, right? I didn't care.
Exactly.
I wanted to be loved, right? I wanted to be so much. And so I commend you for even talking about that, because I think a lot of times we want our fathers, right?
Yes, exactly.
A relationship with our fathers, or even have a father figure that's in our life that's, that can really speak to us, you know what I mean? And help mold us. But
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It goes for Black males as well, but I just know as females, like that's the first man that you love. And so if you see that, whatever you see, that's the type of man that you're eventually, you're going to get with the first guy. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I've been in relationships with people and they were abusive. You know what I mean? But that's what I saw. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily mean that's what I needed. You know what I mean? I wanted. Exactly. Just, you know what I mean? That's what she saw. So that was so powerful. But I also want to talk about the shame piece, because growing up, people do feel shame. You know what I mean? Especially growing up, you be like, man, because I'm not gonna lie, I was ashamed a lot of my past. You know what I mean? But now I'm like, you know what? Like you said, I'm all about helping the next generation not to have to make those same mistakes. You know what I mean? And so I can you on that as well. What advice can you give, even like women and young women who are going through, what we just talked about, like either relationship issues with their fathers, or even they're in bad relationships currently. You know what I mean? Because they feel like, hey, this is it. I want love so bad. You know what I mean? Never experienced it. Like, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, so I want to say I'm huge on that, because it was for 6-7 years I was in a relationship, and it was toxic because we both didn't know who we were, and we were both finding ourselves. But it was just with me, I have the ability to give myself off even when I'm struggling within. Some people just shut down or cut you off, and I had that. So it was just like, this guy knew that I was always going to be there. So it's like you have to be for yourself. You cannot allow people to to degrade you from any aspect of your life. You have to really see who you are. You have to look within and get that inner child and mold and mend that inner child trauma that you're facing. But you cannot do any of that without first admitting to it, taking ownership for your responsibility, and then we can talk, But it's just you have to love yourself first. And people don't know how to do that. So you have to figure out the how. And when you do that by figuring out your why, your purpose, what is the things that you go to sleep thinking about and you cannot just live without? This is one of the main things that I ask, what is that one thing that you feel like you cannot leave this earth without completing? And this is really a gateway to figuring out who you are, because and so I love that we're speaking about relationships. This has got me because my ex is just like my father, and he was in and out of the system. And I don't know if it made me hold on tighter, because my cousin, when I was telling you about my cousin, gave me that love when he went, to jail at a young age. And it just made me stronger. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is powerful, like I said. And I love when you're talking about loving yourself, because that's what it is, And in the scriptures it talks about you love thy God with all your heart and soul, and love thy neighbor as thyself. But you can't love thy neighbor until you learn to love yourself, right? And we know that God is love, but it's that process of learning to love truly. What does loving yourself look like? Is it doing self-care? Is it getting therapy? You know what I mean? Is it your health, focusing on your health? Like what does it look like to you, right? Because it can come in forms, and I think it's okay too as people, because I think sometimes we think like God created us all to be people of connection. And so sometimes us as people, we get scared to be connected, but it's okay to need people. You know what I mean? I just think we have to be conscious and cognizant of the people that we allow into our circles, into our personal space. You know what I mean? It's all about boundaries too, just setting boundaries for ourselves. Is there any advice or tips that you could give women or anything like that about setting boundaries for themselves to ensure, it's like guarding your heart, protecting yourself, so that, if you get in these situations, I don't care if it's, if it's with your father, you know what I mean? Because you might have to have a boundary with him, or, if it's somebody you're dating, or, any type of relationship, friend relationship. Are there any boundaries that you've set for yourself?
Absolutely. And this is huge, because yesterday it was my cousin's birthday, and I went over, to the house. They haven't seen me in months, because first things is first. I'm protecting my energy. I was not the person that wanted to, kick it anymore, and, just get loose and things like that. I was really, it was time to start getting on my business, and really, like I said, finding who I am, mending that inner child. So the thing that I did was I cut the people off that I found that didn't need to get any, any more of my energy. And, people say, oh, you want to be all alone, you isolate yourself. No, right now I'm discovering myself and who I am, who I want to be, who I need to be, and who I can help others continue to thrive in their true potential and succeed in their goals. And after that, once that I get in that room surrounded by a bunch of like-minded individuals, I'm going to be holy. I'm not going to feel less confident in myself. And I want to know, what did you do to get here? How can I get this successful? And we could uplift each other.
Yes, I love that. I love that. You just said a whole word. I love it. I love it. No, for real, because, like I said, you can have boundaries, or like I said, you can cut people completely out of your life, and it is okay, right? Yes. I think a lot of times, sometimes we get scared because you're like, oh man, that's my homie. We've been down for, since, we was kids, or man, that's my family. You know what I mean? Like, how do you just cut off family? But if they're dragging you down, why have them in your life? You know what I mean? You don't want, like, God gave you one life. You can't redo it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You got to protect yourself at all costs. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I commend you for that. I truly do. I truly, truly do.
Thank you.
And then too, I love how you talked about being in new environments. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times too, that's our problem. I think we get so scared to take a risk. You know, and life's about risk. Like you got to be willing to go out there and discover new things about yourself. You can't keep doing the same old, and thinking that you're gonna get a different result, because it's not gonna happen. You gotta constantly growing, you gotta constantly be evolving. And so I find that to be very powerful. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So how did you accept your father back into your life after you got used to your grandfather being there for you?
Oh, yes. So it was like, it's like I'm just a, oh, come here, you know, type of person. Like I'm okay, you know, you did this and you're human. We can get over that. So it was just like, but it was still things that I was dealing with that, you know, because my other brothers, they weren't around. I have about 4 or 5 brothers. And, you know, I let them know how I felt instead of me holding it in. I'm an introvert. So it's like, you know, I'm just okay, like, okay, you can, you know, but I let them know, I let him know, you know, them, like every man in my life, I let them know the things that, you know, I was facing as a child, you know, coming up and alone, and I, you know, going through this toxic relationship for so long and putting up with it because I would crave that love so deeply and dearly. And, you know, once we really got in tune with each other, and because you know, he's always been I'm gonna say listener. He's a great listener. You know, my father is a great listener. He's always happy for me. If I get news right now, he's gonna be the first person I call and tell. So it's like, you know, we just kind of you know, I don't know if more Black families are doing it, but you know, we don't really talk about our problems. We just like, oh, hand me the remote or something, you know, like after an argument or something, like and it's like, okay, I know she's not mad at me no more, she's talking to me. So yeah, it's kind of like that.
Hey man, I love that. You know, and that's and I love that because that's what I wish me and my father had. I mean, me and my father have a better relationship now. Of course, we're in place because you know we have to both protect ourselves. But I love that you're able to still be able to talk to him and converse even after all these years. You know what I mean? Like that's true forgiveness. You know what I mean? To truly be able to do that and not hold all that in and be like, you know what you did to me when I was a kid, you wasn't even there. You know what I mean? Like you just like, hey, you know, the past is the past and I'm gonna move forward in my life. So I commend you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. No problem. No problem. So how long have you been writing? Is this something that you started or have you did this since you were a kid?
Since a child, I've been writing. I love writing. And since my mother always tells me a little story about when I was a kid and I was in school, I don't want to say it wrong, but I think about kindergarten or one of those grades, one of those young grades. And the teacher told us to write a sentence, I wrote a paragraph. And I kind of remember that. And she was amazed because I can barely spell.
I mean, that's powerful though. I feel like a lot of us, when it comes to our passions, like if we really look back in our childhood, we can kind of see where the Lord was leading us all along. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I was a big writer. I love to write, and I felt like that was the best way to express myself, especially as a kid. I didn't know how to else. I felt like I didn't have a voice, and so writing just really became my outlet.
Yes.
I commend you for that. I truly do.
Thank you.
So is there anybody you want to shout out or any contributors you want to shout out from your writing your book?
Sure, yes. Oh, yes. I want to shout out C. Renee. She really led me and guided me through everything. She has her coaching business. Also want to shout out my editor. She is so amazing. Zambia Geiger. She is so great. And, you know, and I want to shout out my fans and my community for supporting me like no other. And I love it. I'm getting tongue tied because it makes me so emotional every day how much support, that because I deleted my old Facebook and made a whole entirely new Facebook with a lot of individuals that think like me, and it's always positivity on my timeline. And that's one thing that I really love. So thank you.
Amen. Thank you so much, Jasmine, for coming on the show today. I would love for you to come back in the future and talk about your other works that you're creating.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much. And as always, guys, thank you for watching the Market Push Talk Show. Pleasure. My name is Brooke Smith. Until next time, I'll see you later.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of The Red Room. I am your host, Shay Samuels, and as always, thank you for tuning in. I'm glad that you chose today to be here because just like any other day, you are going to be blessed. You are going to be, there's so much that's going to come out of this show that I want you to invite a friend, invite a friend, invite a friend, invite another friend, invite a cousin, invite a sister, invite a brother, anybody that you know that needs a bit of encouragement, that needs just a bit of a push. Today's show is going to be exactly what you need. We want to give a shout out to our sponsors first before we go into the topic. Thank you again for your support. Thank you for keeping us running. We love you. We love you. We love you. Listen, we're going to go ahead and get into this topic. Get paper and pen if you don't have it. Take the notes and remember to stay to the end. Why? Because that is where your nuggets are going to be. I keep telling you, if you look at only half of the show, you're only getting half of the blessing. So if you don't stay to the end, you don't have anything else to even just say that you were here. You need something to say, I was here. But you also need these nuggets to take all throughout the course of the year, no matter what year it is. So we're going to go ahead and get into this topic. Today, I want to encourage you to think big. I want to encourage you to think big. How important is it for you to think big, even in this season? You know, Ecclesiastes 3 reminds us in scripture that to everything there's a season. There's a time to be born. There's a time to die. There's a time to pull away. There's a time to mend. There's a time for love. There's a time to hate. Listen, I went all across the scripture just to get you to the point that there is a time for everything. It is your time to think big. It's just your time to think big. Listen, I remember growing up, I always talk about my childhood because for me, those are some of the most pivotal moments in my life where I didn't even realize how big I was actually thinking how big I was dreaming. I didn't even realize like how big, life was in me. And for me to even be able to pull these things out, sometimes I had a bit of anxiety. And we're going to talk to those people today who have a bit of anxiety just because they think big. It is amazing to me how strong and powerful just thinking can really overcome our thoughts, which causes so many other things. So we're going to get into that. But today I want you to just think big. It's important for you to do this. Why? Because every single time you think of something you want to create, life even after that begins to happen for you. As a person who is an entrepreneur, a musician, a motivational speaker, life coach, all of the things above, I would have never thought that these things can happen for me. But just because I thought big, I would not be sitting here in front of you today. That is the power of just thinking big enough. I've had a couple of sayings over the time where people have told me I wasn't qualified for something. Someone's told you you weren't qualified for something. Someone told you that you would never be able to complete something. Someone probably even told you that you would never amount to anything. But once you put your mind to thinking bigger than that, you have the power to create whatever you want to create. I'm going to give you a few examples. The light bulb. Who would have ever thought we needed a light bulb? Why would someone think about a light bulb? But every day we get use out of what? A light bulb. And then they took it a step further. They started coming up with different watts. Why? Because there's intimate moments. There's moments where you need to have it for shows and movies. There's other things that you need to be able to use lighting for. But listen, someone created the light because they know you would need it. Let's talk about a car. Who would have ever thought that we needed a vehicle? Why would someone not want to walk from one side of the town across the other side of town? Why wouldn't you want to do that? But someone thought about a car, and guess what they took? Something, and they took something and made it out of nothing. That is the power of thinking big, taking nothing and making something out of it. Let's talk about the airplane. Who would have ever thought it would be quicker for you to go across one country to another and using an airplane to get you there? I'm telling you the power of thinking big. There's a few chain stores that you probably frequent every single day. That was someone's vision that you were buying into every single time you walk in. Do you see the importance of how big thinking can be? So how many times have you shortened yourself or shortened your lifespan because you decided not to think big? Don't be afraid to do it. Now, I know that someone's saying, I do it, and every single time I do it, I kind of get cut off from it. Every single time I think it, something happens. That is the destined place for you to be, which is why it's so hard for you to get there. Can I encourage you in that today? That because you're supposed to be there, the trials and the tribulations are going to come to wipe you out. But if you allow it to happen, you'll never get to your end place. When I tell people that, you know how many people decide that they want to start walking, they want to start moving, they want to start thinking, and then they start planning. That right there, that's going to be the place that you need to be. So we're going to talk about a few things that you can do in order to get you from your thinking place to your implement place. But I want you to first know that you have to think big, bigger than you've ever thought before. Why? Because your life and your legacy, it depends on it. Your legacy depends on it. Can I tell you that it's your legacy that depends on it? Forget the people who didn't think big before you. I got to tell you this. Forget those people who did not think, well, my grandmother didn't think big. My mom didn't think big. It's just not part of our family. We are 9-to-5 workers. We love being able to do what we do when we do it, but thinking big just wasn't a part of me. Well, I'm going to tell you who I'm talking to today. I'm talking to the person who has this rumbling in their belly every second of the day that you can do something beyond what you knew your family did. That person who knows that if I just created this one thing, that it probably could change the lives of other people. Think about the person who came up with prescriptions, medication. Think about the person who said, let me build a hospital. Think about the person who said, allow me to do this, and then that happened. You are taking advantage of that every single day. So what is it? Are you trying to write a book? Are you looking to become a musician? Did you want to go back to school for something? Did you want to create the next latest piece of technology? And you just think because somebody has created every other thing that there is out there, you can't do it. Let me tell you, they don't have what you have. So I want you to think big. Let's go into a couple of ways that you can start taking your thoughts and moving those thoughts into another prospect of your life. Do you know that a vision board is the most powerful thing that you could ever have? Why? Because it brings your vision to life. The vision board is the most powerful piece or tool that you can have as you're thinking big. You're laying out your platform. You're laying out your blueprint right then and there. You're saying, this is my vision. Habakkuk 2 says to write your vision and make it plain. So once you start writing your vision, once you start making it plain, now you have your blueprint. What does a blueprint do for you? It shows you your steps. Listen, the blueprint will show you your steps. There are so many times where I have had to do a vision board for myself because all of these visions were coming to me. And once I laid it out, I said, ooh, I see myself doing that. And when you sit back and you look at that vision board, month by month, start checking off the items that you literally completed. When you start thinking big, you have to have a reminder, and that's what that vision board will do for you. When you start thinking big enough, you'll have that vision board and begin to execute the plan. So I want you to write this down. I need a blueprint. I don't care how you get there. You can be the person that wants to do your vision board by yourself, but I'd say get a group of friends together, have a vision board party, put it together, put the popcorn on, get a movie, put some music on, but get together and start working this thing together. Like-minded people are going to be want to be around you, and they're also going to want to have their visions laid out as well, but you can spearhead it. Get that vision board out and start putting down whatever it is that is in your mind. Lay it out, map it out, get it together. And I'm telling you, once you see this vision board and the people around you, once they see the vision board, they become accountable to your vision. That's the next thing. You need people accountable to your vision. There's no point of thinking it if it can't be done. Listen, can I tell you that no plan can be executed alone? Let me share with you a football team or a basketball team. Let me share with you a soccer team. Do you see one person out on that field trying to make this thing work? No, ma'am, no, sir. You are going to need a team of people to hold you accountable. You are literally going to have to start thinking this thing through. Everybody can't go where you're going. And I know that you've heard that before, but let me tell you, I don't mean it in that way. I mean that there's a number of people who could go, but is it right for them to go in the season that you are elevating? That's what thinking big is going to do. So you're going to have people who will be accountable to your vision. Those people will not be competitive. Those people will not be jealous. Those people will not be envious. They are going to connect with you and say, what must I do? What must I do to help you push what you're thinking through? It is imperative that you have accountability partners. Listen, in my lifetime, I have had people who came, people who went. But in this season, I've had people who stuck. Those people are going to be the ones, no matter what they're going through, to say, what must I do? You're thinking it. I want to be here to help you bring it through. You're saying it. I want to be here to help you bring it through. That's exactly what those people will do. That's exactly how those people will do it. And guess what? There are times where you never have to step foot in a place. They will just do it for you. You know, there's so many people I've met just by social media. Some people, and I'm talking about, I've never met them face to face. Some of the most loyal people to my vision. Stop worrying about all the people that you've encountered who said that they won't help. You have to think big enough, put it out there after you plan it. And I guarantee you that there will be people to find and to connect with you. Listen, when you think your family, your friends, and maybe your coworkers, all these people who are going to come up and they're going to start saying, hey, we'll help, we'll help, we'll help. And you get discouraged. Listen, it's not going to happen that way. I've always heard that the strangers are your most loyal people. So don't get hung up on my aunt's not going to help me, the cousin's not going to help me, my brother, my sister's not going to help me. Just know that once you think it, you plan it, put that blueprint out, and you start to move on it, there are people around you who are going to be accountable to your vision. Let me ask you this. What hinders your vision? What is it that actually, when you think about it, is it your mind? Is it your thought? Or is it people telling you that you can't do it? Is it someone telling you you weren't qualified? Is it somebody out there saying it can never come to pass? Maybe somebody might have said to you, well, this person tried to do it, but they weren't successful in it. If you're thinking it, it shall come to pass. Can I encourage you in that today? If you're thinking it, it shall come to pass. I've had a number of people tell me that I think too big. I've had a number of people say your ideas are too grand. So it could never happen. Have you thought about the financial piece of it? Have you thought about how many people need to labor? Did you think about how many people you would need to feed? Did you think about the places you would need to go? How are you going to do all of that? And I didn't know. I just knew that I had something in me that needed to come out. I started to do exactly what I'm encouraging you to do. I started saying, listen, I'm thinking it. I'm going to put it on paper and I'm going to remind myself every day what this looks like. And because I reminded myself every day, I wasn't out to show them I could. I was out to prove to me that I could. And every day I started to prove to myself that I could. So while you're thinking it, I need you to say, I'm proving to me that I can, and I will. The next thing I want you to remember is not only as you begin to think big, you're going to start having thoughts. You're going to have to start grabbing those thoughts because now you're thinking. And what happens when you think, ladies, our brains are like wires. They go all over the place. One wire connects to another wire, connects to another wire. And by the time you're done, you're anxious. But the Bible reminds us to not be anxious for anything. So when you become anxious, not that you're not going to touch it or that you're not going to get it, you get anxious because you know it has to be done. So I want to encourage you in this. It can be done, but there's steps that you have to take. First, grab a hold of those thoughts. I want you to reach up and catch those thoughts. I want you to reach up, catch those thoughts. The ones that are going to build, I want you to put them in your pocket. And the ones that seem a bit frivolous, put them aside for a second. The ones that may seem outlandish, put them on a board, put them as a goal. And I want you to start focusing on those goals. And then that brings you to how you execute all these thoughts that you have. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to give me a drum roll because here's how you execute them. You set yourself long-term and short-term goals. Listen, has anybody ever talked to you about long-term or short-term goals? It is imperative that you have a goal set for everything that you put on that vision board. I remember on mine, I started putting office space and I was putting life coach and I was putting my kids and I put houses and I put clothes. I put a lot of stuff on those vision boards. And I said, this is the timeline that I want this all to happen. In order for it to happen, you have to have set a goal. My short-term goals were ones that I could literally start to execute within weeks. And I started to check those boxes off and I felt more accomplished as I was checking those boxes off. The long-term goals were the ones that I knew I would have to pay a lot of money out for. Those things that I knew I would have to bring a lot of people in for. Those things I knew for a fact that if I did it today, I would be broke tomorrow. But I put it on there because I knew that it could be accomplished. So I want you to start looking at how I can execute my plan by setting goals. So you you take those big thoughts, you take those that big thinking, and you start putting them into this bucket of, this is what I want to do today, this is what I want to do tomorrow, this is what I want to do next year, this is what I want to do 5 years. I need you to think big. Now, when I put it in that way, does it make sense to you that you don't have to try to grab everything up right now and try to make it all happen? That's when we begin to feel like failures. So when I say, I want you to start thinking big, I want you to start tapping into your power of thinking big, tap into the power of creating with a purpose, with a plan. Ecclesiastes 3 says, to every purpose, there is a plan. For every season, there is a plan. For every season, there is a plan. So what that tells me is that even while thinking big, there's going to be some times where you got to tear away from some things. There's going to be some times where you hate some things. There's going to be times where just the vision feels like it died. There's going to be times where it feels like it died. There's going to be times where it feels like there's just nothing happening, but you're still thinking. Oh, I love that scripture reminds us that God knows the plans. Jeremiah 29:11 says, for I know the plans that I have for you, and these plans are going to cause you to prosper. So that means your thoughts are just that. God gave you the thoughts. So do you not think that God's going to give you the plan or the action behind it? You just have to move. So when those thoughts come and when you start feeling anxious, remind yourself that I am not to be anxious for anything. The thoughts are great thoughts, but all I need to do is just lay it out, write the vision, and make it plain. There's so much power in thinking big. I always like to give you guys a movie because I'm not like a real movie person, but for some reason, as I begin to kind of encourage people and motivate myself, it really comes up to the movies. And so everyone probably has seen it. Everyone probably goes to see it afterwards. Who knows? But I have to share with you some of the movies that I've seen of the power of just thinking big. I was watching a show. I don't even know if I want to say the show's name, but I was watching a show, and I can tell you that there are two men dressed in black. There was an episode that I was watching, or one of the shows that I was watching, where one of the men in the episode actually had to go back to save the person who saved him. In order for him to do that, he had to think big. He had to think outside of what he was taught. He had to think outside of the box to get this person where they needed to be so they can go back where this person didn't die. Long story short, he had to think outside the box to make this happen. Before he started to do what he wanted to do, there were people who told him he couldn't. They said it was impossible. You can't go back because you're going to change the end of time. And you can't do that because then it affects everybody else. Listen, this person thought big enough to go back. This person thought big enough and thought enough of his friend to say, I don't want him to die, so I'm going to go back. There were trials and tribulations in this because he had to keep doing it over and over and over and over. But he was determined. Why? Because he had the end in mind. Do you have the end in mind? Do you have what it takes to go back, but still move forward enough for you to know this is my landing place? Do you think big enough to think outside the box? No matter what obstacle comes my way, I'm going to think big enough to know that there's an end result in mind. What if I told you that every time you thought big, every single time you thought big, the adversary was going to come to you? And the adversary is going to tell you that you can't do it. What if I told you that every single time you thought something good, that a bad thought was going to come? Listen, I know that you know it because it's happening to you every single day. Can I remind you of the book of Job, where God was up there with the angels? And this is kind of just for, lack of speaking, but the guy was up there with the angels and the angels were talking and God is talking to them. And there's Satan walking in the midst of all of them. God never tripped out. God never said, hey, what are you doing here, my hater? He never said that. He said, what's up with you? He said, what's up with you? And then then Satan says, I'm just looking for something to get in. He was thinking. Even your adversaries think. Even your adversaries are thinking bigger. I am looking for something to get into. Did that just bless you? I'm looking for something to get into. So God says, well, have you considered my servant Job? That means your thoughts are operating, and somewhere up in heaven, the adversary is thinking, I need to get into something. And then God's going to say, have you considered my servant? And now all of a sudden you're going through it. All of a sudden the trials and the tribulations are coming. But guess what? Job never gave up, for those of us who know the story. But I'm encouraging you to never give up on thinking big. Never give up on the power of thinking big. Never give up on the opportunity to go bigger than you went yesterday. For some of you, bigger might be just getting out of bed. For some of you, bigger might be just, I'm going to think differently about myself. So today, I want to encourage you to have a mindset shift. I'm going to think big. Say it today. I'm going to think big, bigger than I thought yesterday. And then tomorrow, I want you to think bigger than that. Your destiny is sure to come. And remember, to everything there's a season. It is your season to think big. Listen, that's my time. I want to thank you for tuning in. And I pray again that this is going to take you into the next year and the year and the year and the year after that. I'm Shay Samuels. Thank you for tuning into the Red Room. Until the next time, we'll see you soon.
We're grateful for who God is. That list of names given, holy and mighty and all of that, that's just the beginning of things. When Jesus was jousting with the Pharisees, Jesus made it clear to them that when you start talking about me, you're talking about something that surpasses Abraham. Because before Abraham was, he said, my name is I am. In other words, when you open up the book to look at all of the good things that a person can possibly be, mighty and triumphant and awesome and holy, he says that that's just the beginning of it. He had to close the book.
Who am I, America? My name is Daryl R. Izzard. I grew up in Hickory, North Carolina, in the projects of Ridgeview. Exactly, the apartment number was 909 South Center Street. I grew up with a single mother who had me and my 3 other siblings. My father was one of the biggest drug dealers in Hickory, North Carolina, him and his twin brother. Because of him slinging and selling drugs, he was incarcerated for most of my life, for about 12 years. So I had to grow up early. Though I was the oldest, but I still had to grow up early and help take care of my siblings and be there for my mom. And growing up early, it made me be who I am today. I experienced bullying from elementary all the way up to my 10th grade year of high school. My mom did the best she could with me and my siblings, had all the good shoes and name brand shoes and clothes. And one day she felt like I was just so ungrateful. And her and my grandma yelled at me and they said, "Why, you seem like you're just very ungrateful. You have everything that anybody could ever ask for. Why are you so ungrateful?" And I immediately just yelled and I said, "You don't understand what I go through at school. The kids are bullying me. They call me names. They pick on the way I talk. They pick on the way I walk." And from there, my mom and my grandma went to the school and they talked to the administrators, and it got better for a little bit, but then eventually it started back again. And it got so bad that I started treating my family bad because of what I was experiencing through school. And my mom sent me off to a group home. But this wasn't an ordinary group home. It was a Christian-based group home where we stayed in church day and night. It was a holiness church that they were a part of. And in this group home is where I found, I would say, my calling for ministry, my calling for being an artist and encouraging people. So after about a year, I was able to go home, and I moved in with my great-grandmother, who was very sick at the time. So it was very beneficial for not only her, but for me, because I was able to transfer school systems instead of going to the school I was. So after about a year of being in the group home, I returned home and I moved in with my great-grandmother, who was very sick at the time. So it was not only beneficial for her, but it was beneficial for me because I was able to move school districts. This school district, it seemed like I should have been there all along. There was no bullying. There was, seemed like the kids had a little bit more, the kids were a little bit more civilized, I would say. So I joined the choir, I joined the band, and got to experience traveling to New York and Disney World and all over singing. It was just like, this is where I needed to be the whole time. So I moved there. It was called Newton Conover High School, where I was there from 10th grade to 12th grade, and still stayed with my grandmother, and still had dealing with different challenges such as being depressed and ADHD, all these things the doctors kept trying to throw at me. So I had to take medicine and all that stuff. But eventually I was able to overcome all those things with going to therapy and just keeping myself busy. So after high school, I stayed around with my great-grandmother for a little bit and decided what I really wanted to do, what my purpose was. And so I got a little job at Waffle House, and my grandmother bought me a car. And then as I was at Waffle House, I decided that it was time for me to go off, leave Hickory and go off and pursue some things that I felt like I wanted to do. So I ended up at Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina, which was my decision, but my mom, she felt like it was too far. She didn't want me to go. In fact, she told me I wasn't going. And I was doing everything I could to make arrangements and get my ride there because my mom didn't want to take me. Eventually, during a counseling session, the counselor talked to my mom and she was like, he needs to experience this. If he doesn't like it, then he can transfer always. So my mom finally decided to let me go, and her and my brothers and my grandma, they all helped me move in. And my first year of college was rough. Just like any freshmen who go off, they've never been off, start partying and hanging downtown a little bit more than I should. And I got in a relationship that kind of ruined me, got me off my focus. So as the term ended, was close coming to an end, I had to be put on academic probation. Well, I was on scholarship at Shaw University. So because I was put on academic probation, I lost my scholarship. And I'm like, man, I can't tell my mom this. What in the world am I going to do? And eventually I just told her, and she's like, well, you got to come home. I'm like, nah, I ain't coming home. I'm just going to take out some student loans. And she said, I'm not signing for no student loans. So I was sitting here trying to figure out how I could take out a student loan without my mom, which wasn't possible. So I lost my scholarship and I had to come back home. And I enrolled in a community college where you go for 2 years and then you can transfer to a university. The people who were over my scholarship told me that if I pulled my GPA up, I can get my scholarship back. So while at this community college, I was doing the best I could to get my GPA up. Then all of a sudden, I get diagnosed with cancer. And this cancer was a type of cancer that my aunt had died of many years ago. And it was it's crazy because I was dying and I didn't even know it. Just happened to go to the doctor, and because I wasn't feeling any aches or pains or anything, but I was losing a lot of weight. And I just felt like it was, I'm just losing weight because the medicine that I was on or something, I didn't really just pay it no attention. So when the doctor told me I had cancer, I just cried and cried and cried on my way home. And I told my mom, and we both cried, and we prayed and we cried. And for about 2 to 3 years, nobody knew except God, myself, the doctors, and my mom. We didn't tell a soul. And it was hard not telling anybody, but I didn't want any pity from anybody. I didn't want anybody to treat me any different. I just wanted to continue to live my life. So while having cancer, I was still in the community college, and I also enrolled in a theology school to get my biblical studies degree. So I'm working 2 jobs, going to 2 different schools, and dealing with cancer at the same time. Just trying to stay busy, to keep my mind off of what I was dealing with. So eventually, I finished the community college with a 3.0, and shortly after I finished the biblical studies degree with a 4.0. So they told me that if I got my GPA up to a certain level, I would be able to go back and get my scholarship. So this time I got my scholarship back, but I did not go back to Shaw University. I applied to different schools, UNCG, Johnson C. Smith, Livingstone, all these different colleges. I got accepted to all of them, except Wingate that I applied to. Me and my mom went and visiting all these different schools and seeing what was best fit for me. And one of the last schools I got accepted to was Winston-Salem State. And we went and toured it, and just felt like I was at home the moment I walked on the campus. So I chose to go to Winston-Salem State. And at Winston-Salem State, I was then a junior because I transferred those 2 years of college, the community college. And my major was business administration, concentration management. And the first year or so, or the first semester, I stayed to myself, just did my studies and stayed in my dorm room. But then as the next semester came, I came out of my shell a little bit more and met some people. Actually, there were some people from Hickory that was there who I connected with. And I started joining clubs, the choir and business club and African American club, all these different things I was joining just to kind of get familiar with the school and what they're all about. So eventually I joined a fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, which was something that really helped me develop as a young man, older in my teen years, I would say. So just growing up in school and things, I didn't really have any guy friends or that brotherhood, I guess you would say. So this was something I was looking forward to having, where you have some brothers you can lean on and they can hold you accountable. And that's exactly what they did. We still talk to this day. It was 9 of us. Matter of fact, it was the biggest line we had in 10 years. So it's very exciting to become a part of a brotherhood that is a lifetime of friendship and relationships. So eventually I go on to my senior year and doing my senior project and all these things. And I lose my great-grandfather, which kind of put another damper on me and led me into depression. I didn't only lose him, but I lost a childhood Sunday school teacher from the church I was a part of. I lost my grandfather, who was very inspirational in my life. He was on the radio for about 50 plus years and MC for different gospel artists like Shirley Caesar and Mighty Clouds of Joy, all those different people. And he inspired me to do my gospel music, a lot of my gospel music and writing. So it was very difficult when I got the call that he had passed. I remember getting the call from a friend, actually. My mom and grandma thought it was best not to tell me, let me get through classes or whatever, but somebody had called me and said, sorry for your loss of your grandpa. And I immediately just started screaming and yelling and just going off. Called my mom and I said, what is this? I'm hearing that Papa is dead. And I just yelled and yelled and yelled. I screamed and cried. I remember a friend coming up the steps and giving me a hug and just trying to comfort me. So that led me into depression. I stayed in my dorm room probably for the next 2 weeks, not going to classes. And my grades went down, but eventually I was able to talk to my counselor, who I hadn't talked to since I've been in school, and it helped me get a little bit, I guess, get some comfort in knowing that my grandpa wouldn't want me to just stop going to classes. He would want me to continue on and finish the course. So I got back in the books and doing long night studies and things so I could get my grades up. And eventually I was able to continue and be successful. I ended like in a 3.82, I would say, something like that. And during that, the pandemic came. So I wasn't able to graduate. I lost my job and had to stay home and do all these things online. So it was very difficult for us who graduated during the pandemic or were supposed to graduate. And that led me into depression a little bit as well. And then just trying to find a job right out of school, but during the pandemic, everybody was saying they want a hiring freeze. So I had to stay home, go back home and stay home a little bit and get another job at Bojangles just to make some money. And eventually I saw a job on LinkedIn and I applied, which was in Raleigh, North Carolina, as a HR associate, which was kind of what I was doing on the job I lost before the pandemic. And so I moved to Raleigh. My grandma and my mom and my siblings helped me once again to move to Raleigh. And all of a sudden, I moved to Raleigh and I'm on this job and the pandemic gets worse. And they laid me off. And I'm like, okay, I done moved all the way to Raleigh. And don't know a soul down here. And you're gonna lay me off. And you knew I was moving here. It was very devastating and I did not know what I was going to do. In fact, it was rough. My mom and them, they didn't even know I lost my job. Luckily, I had a little part-time job that was helping me continue to pay my bills or whatever, but barely making it. Then I looked on LinkedIn again and I found another opportunity where I can apply kind of in the same field. And I applied and I got the job and still today I'm still there. It's been an awesome experience. And just while doing all this, I began to start writing some of the things I went through and how I have overcame different things, the trials and tribulations, many trials and tribulations, the ups and the downs, the losses, the bad relationships, dealing with the cancer at an early age. I thought I would put it all in a book and encourage people that no matter what you go through in life, you can make it. You can make it on top. God's grace will see you through. So all that is in this book that I wrote entitled Overcoming Opposition, and just basically just trying to encourage people to keep on keeping on no matter what. Because life is hard. Life is real hard. And people my age or younger, they're dealing with different things that our parents or our grandparents dealt with. It's very, I would say, it's some rougher stuff than what they dealt with. So it's easy to fall off balance and get unfocused, but we got to stay the course no matter what. So I'm hoping that when somebody reads this book, Overcome Opposition, that it will help them to get back on course and stay focused. And also that goes along with my new music single, Don't Give Up on God. Basically saying the same thing, don't give up no matter what you're going through, because God won't give up on you. It's both of these things came during a very difficult path in my life, because I lost my great-grandmother last year. So just putting a lot of tears and sweat and everything that I've been dealing with for the loss of her is in this book and in this song, Don't Give Up on God. My grandmother was my heart. I always tell my people I loved my mom, but my great-grandmother was truly my heart. So it's been very difficult navigating this life without her. But because of God's grace and the abilities he gave me to write, I thank God for that, just being able to write and put my thoughts down on paper or in music, and it's been helping me get through. I still have my bad days, but the music and the writing has really helped me get through. Yeah. So who am I, America? I'm Daryl R. Izzard, a recording artist, an author, a minister, motivational speaker, and it hasn't been easy. I had to go through some things, but as I said in my trial sermon, you have to go through a process to get to where you're trying to go in life. And my process was difficult. I had to go through a lot of ups and downs, but in the end, I think it's worth it. Even all the losses and all the gains and all the bad relationships, even the cancer, it was all a part of my process. So I could get to my purpose, to my destiny. So I encourage you, no matter what you're going through, to go through your process. No matter what it feels like, no matter what it looks like, no matter what those say about you, go through your process so you can reach your destiny. You can get my book, Overcoming Opposition, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any place where you get your book. And you can get my music on all digital platforms, Don't Give Up on God, Daryl R. Izzard. And you can go to my website for booking or even prayer requests, or to see my schedule of what I may be doing at www.darrell, D-A-R-R-E-L-L, Izzard, I-Z-A-R-D.com. And no matter what you do, just keep your head up and never give up. God bless.
Real experiences.
Welcome. We are here with another fabulous episode of It's Rare Talk.
Hey,
yes,
y'all.
Indeed. So we are here with co-host
Ty B.
And I'm Ty C. So I am excited. We are excited, cousin. I'm going to let you introduce our special guest on today.
Yes, y'all. So thank you all that are on. Listen, I don't usually do this because my mind don't be on it, but I'm going to tell y'all tonight, y'all want to share this. You want to get your cousins, you want to get your brothers, sisters, get everybody on here tonight because we have such a special guest. we have been, I don't even want to use the word excited, but we have been looking forward to this episode. Like me and cousin were texting, like, this is going to be good. Like, we just knew that this episode was going to be so good. Like I said, we've been looking forward to it. We were talking earlier about this young man, even comments and people were sharing the post, that he was going to be sharing his story on tonight. I'm walking through the store with tears, and just so elated, just so joyous about this young man who I had the pleasure of working alongside a couple of years ago. And so, y'all, I like to introduce to some and present to others, none other than Mr. Andre Childs. Welcome.
Welcome. We are excited. Cousin, thank you so much for the connection with Mr. Childs, and Mr. Childs, once again, we just want to thank you for being here. Cousin is exactly right. When I think about the topic that we're actually going to be talking about tonight, like there's a lot of different pandemics that's going on in the world today, but addiction has been a national problem for a long time. Yeah. COVID came in and COVID made its name great and as far as like the headlines on television and media and all of that. But addiction has been, listen here, an issue for a long time. Yes. It has affected so many different families in so many different ways. And so just to know that Mr. Childs, you have celebrated 5 years in recovery melts my heart. And I have to be perfectly honest with you. This subject area right here is very dear to me. And it's very dear to me, not that I've actually experienced it personally, but coming from a job of 7.5 years of working with individuals who have been battling this for years, I always took my job very seriously. Right. And so to be able to talk about this matter tonight on It's Rare Talk, listen here, I am elated. I am excited. I am excited to hear your story. I love what God is doing in your life right now, right? And so, cousin, I know that, you have this thing where you talk about, we see a person's now, right? But every now has a then. And so Mr. Childs is here with us today to take us back to his then. And so I'm excited for his transparency. I'm excited for the support that he has had along the way. Andre, that's absolutely amazing. But once again, I'm excited that he made it out, cousin. And I'm glad that you two have an awesome connection. Yes. And once again, just excited to have him on the show. Yes. So welcome, Mr. Childs.
Thank you.
So we're going to ask that you would take us back to where if you want to do the childhood or teens. Tell us how you were as a kid, if you were quiet, rambunctious, whatever. Give us a little background.
Yeah, as a child, I very athletic, played sports, basketball, football, ran track, and wasn't quiet. I definitely talked a lot. But like I was thinking about it, back from 8 to 14, I was like my life was very good, playing sports, getting good grades, going to school, just doing everything I was supposed to do. And I felt like when I got to, even through high school, 9th, 10th grade, 11th grade, I was real little. So like, I just kind of stayed to myself a lot. Yeah. Stayed sports, stayed to myself because my sister, she graduated in 2004, went to Hampton University, was always making honor roll, dean's list. Like, so I felt like, man, I have to stay on top of myself because like, she out here like doing her thing. And, things didn't end up that way. And sometimes I sit back and I ask myself maybe I didn't feel like I was good enough. You know what I'm saying? And that's maybe what transpired to send me in the wrong direction. So, my childhood as a young child, everything was fine. My teenage years is when things started to take a turn.
Okay. So how about senior year? Did you graduate? Or
Yeah,
did they? Okay.
I graduated high school, played varsity football, running back, defensive back, played basketball, and I even went to a JUCO college in Oklahoma for 2 years. And I feel like that is when I realized that maybe I might have an addiction problem. I didn't know nothing about addiction, narcotics, Alcoholics Anonymous, but I was in school and I was out like partying. You know what teenagers do, what young kids do. You go to college, you party, you get up, you go to class. Well, the difference was I was partying and everybody else was getting up and going to class and I wasn't.
Okay.
I'm saying, so after being out there for a year and a half, I came back home to Claymont, Delaware, and that was in 2011. And that's really when I had like dibble and dabble, smoking, drinking, doing some pills here and there. But when I came back from college is when my addiction really took off.
Yeah. So it went to a whole nother level. Was it because you just had idle time? Do you feel like so you didn't finish? You went to JUCO for a year and a half, but you didn't finish. You came back. So when you got back, did you feel like, man, what do I do now? Like, what do you think your mindset was at to cause, like you said, the dibbling and dabbling to go haywire, out of control?
A lot of the people I graduated with and family members, everybody went to college, graduated, got a degree, or if not got a degree, like had a career. And I felt like I came back to my hometown and I just was in the mindset as like, what's next?
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that I hung around were, they would have a job, but they also was, in the streets selling drugs and getting high. And, they say, you are who you hang around. If you hang around 9 people that's doing drugs and selling drugs and you the 10th person, it's probably what you're going to end up doing. And that's just where it started. I would work here and there, but a lot of my homeboys from back home, man, like they got high. And I feel like me, I take things to the extreme. You know what I'm saying? Once I started, it was all she wrote. And like I said, when we get to like now, because once you get into a program, Narcotics Anonymous, you start to do like step work and like answer about yourself. Because back then I didn't know my reason of why I chose to pick up drugs. I also didn't know I was a drug addict. So if I knew now what I knew back then, I mean, I don't know if I would have, but I'm grateful that I went through what I went through because it made me who I am today.
Absolutely. I love that. You just said a lot. Right there in what you just said. Like, you said, I didn't know I was an addict. Because a lot of times when we in the midst of something, it's a couple of things: denial, or not just wanting to associate ourselves with something that has such a strong, look to it,
Right.
But you said, I didn't realize I was an addict, So let me ask you a question. If you don't mind sharing, what was your gateway drug? What was that first drug that led? Because you said, listen, I take things to the extreme, right? And I've heard a lot of people saying that from working in this field, with other individuals. I've heard that, so what was that first drug that took you into that place of, my God?
Yeah. All right. So the first drug I ever did, right? Marijuana, smoking weed, drinking. But I would do, Xanax or Perks here and there. But the first time I did opiates, like I sniffed a bag of dope, it gave me a whole different feeling. And I feel like from the first time I touched that drug is when I said to myself, like, this can get dangerous very quick. But in my mind, right, I'm telling myself that like I'm not like these addicts that walk around here and can't work and don't have no money and don't care about how they dress. I was telling myself like, that's not me. So if I want to do this, I'll be able to do this and live a normal life. It didn't work out that way.
Yeah. I was going to ask you exactly what we think so much alike, but on to the next question. So were you able to keep it from your family, or when did they find out?
So for a while, I hid it from my family, but like my mom is, I'm a mama's boy. That's my dog. That's my rider. That's my like my best friend. And you know, I would come in the house some nights and she would see me and she would ask me like, what's wrong with you? You know, I'm just tired. And but my drug use progressed from sniffing dope to like using needles.
Mm-hmm.
I shared about this on my anniversary. One specific time, man, I had left some needles in my closet, and my mom, she knew something was going on with me. You know, she knows me. I walk in the house, eyes bloodshot, or my pupils all pinned. You know, she knows something's going on, and she looked through my closet and she found a pack of needles, and she said to me, "We got to figure something out." Because I'm, you know, my mom, she's like, "I'm not going to let you die in these streets from using drugs."
Right.
And it got to a point, though, that, like, even when my mom knew and my dad knew and my sister knew, like, it didn't matter. Because now I'm all in. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
No matter who knows, no matter what people think, I don't care about keeping a job. I don't care what my family thinks. Like, I'm in the midst of active addiction. Like, I'm all in.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter to me, you know, family events, going to birthday parties, Thanksgiving, Christmas. I'm going in there high at the table, nodding out, falling asleep, and just not caring.
So let's talk about that right there, cousin. I want to, because I feel like a lot of times, and after having conversations with different parents of individuals who are active in addiction or struggling with addiction, you know, sometimes if you have never walked that pathway, you don't know what to expect. You don't know what to think. You know what I mean? All you know is that you see your loved one in a situation that's not good, right?
Yeah.
And so I heard him say, listen, at that point in my life, all I cared about was my addiction, right? And it's because that disease takes over, right? And so that person that they actually seen come into the, you know, the dinner table and things like that, it was taken over by a different force.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. And that thing, I heard what you say. You was like, in the beginning, when I, you know, took on the heavy stuff, the opiates or whatever, you know, I knew that it could become dangerous. I heard about it, you know what I'm saying? But in my mind, because right at that point, it hadn't taken over your mind. In your mind, I got control over this.
Yeah.
Right? That's what a lot of people actually believe, that they got control over it. You know what I mean? Not realizing that thing right there, man, that's a demon all by itself.
All by itself.
Yeah, that thing, it's coming to take over everything. And it, before you know it, the individual is out of control.
Yeah.
Right? And so here you are, you're showing up. You still showing up, but you showing up with something riding your back.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. I was going to ask too, were you working? Were you still functioning like with a job, or was you just like getting your money in the street or whatever?
I was working. I would have a job here and there, you know. I used to work with my uncle cleaning like Wawa floors, and then I worked at Bellevue State Park, worked there for about 4 months, got fired. Worked at Stanley's, a restaurant, worked there for about 7 months, got fired. I would have a job, but I could never keep a job because if I woke up one day and I didn't have no drugs, there was no way I was going to work. And if I did go to work, I would try to find a way to either leave work and go use, leave work and go find some money, steal some money and go use. It was just, I couldn't keep a job if I didn't have drugs. I couldn't do nothing in life. But like she was saying, it was really a demon that took over my body. Like, if I wake up today and I don't get no drugs in my body, I will not be a productive person.
It had you like that. And so what's your age range during this time?
I would say when I was deep in my addiction, 19 to 25.
Wow. 19 to 25. Okay. Okay. And so during that time, did you ever seek out, like, try to get any help? That, you know, I know your mom was on you and your family, but did you ever go into a facility at that time? Did you ever try, you know, because sometimes somebody would try something for 30 days and that didn't happen. So did you try anything?
I went to a treatment in Pennsylvania in 2014. I went 2 different times. The first time I went, I completed. I stayed there for 18 days. But at this point, I really was just going because I was trying to make my mom happy. You know what I'm saying? And I knew in my mind that, like, I was on like a little vacation. The day I left that rehab, I used. And my mom is one of them type of ladies where, like, okay, I'm a grown man. She telling me when I can and can't leave the house. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm not. You know, when it comes to getting what I want, I'm going to do what I want. And she would try to keep tabs on me and try to get me jobs to work with people she was close to. But at the end of the day, the only way I was going to stop using is when I was ready. So I went to that treatment for 18 days, completed and used. I went back to that same treatment in 2015, and I was there for 3 days, and I left. And I got high as soon as I got in the car with the person that picked me up.
Before
we get deep into the interview, I need to shout out your mother.
Yes, Mom.
Right? I've never met your mom in person, never had a conversation with your mom, but I need to shout her out, right? And is your mom Miss Wanda?
Yes.
The reason why I want to say that is because like I told you prior, I was reading the comments on our Facebook page, and I can tell that your mom loves you.
100%.
I can tell that your mom is one of your biggest cheerleaders, and from a mom to a mom, I get it.
Yeah.
Right? All she wanted to do was protect her seed.
That's it.
Right? And she was riding with you. I want to tell you something. Consider yourself blessed, because I've seen a lot of individuals whose support system fell off because they couldn't handle the fact that their child was in active addiction. And so for your mom to continue to ride that thing out with you to the point to where you are now, listen, Miss Wanda, shout out to you. Shout out to you. And so I just wanted to stop and say that and give her flowers. Wow, she's here.
I'll add to that, because working with Andre, I know he loves his mom. He loves his mom. He's very family oriented.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to highlight that we know Mom did her part, you know.
Yeah.
We know this was not her fault or her doing. This was choices that you made, you know.
Absolutely.
When you strong-willed and you have this mindset, I'm gonna do what I want to do. That's you know what I'm saying? Because even us, I guess we could call ourselves mama bears, because our kids are grown. My youngest is 16, but I'm still like that. Andre, me and Tonette, but our boys they're knocking on 30, but we still like, where you know what I mean? Where you at? Because it's a different world, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I commend your mom for that. I'm not losing my son, because that's our mindsets with our boys, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's a lot with that.
Yes.
A lot with that.
But I like what he said, cousin, not to cut you off.
No,
he said, first of all, he respected his mom enough to try to go, for the simple fact because he knew that would please her.
Yeah.
But to all of our viewers and individuals who are active in addiction right now, because cousin, you know, we here to throw a line of hope.
Oh yeah.
Right, Andre, that you are part of the line of hope for individuals who still are part of your then. See, you've crossed over, but it's still some individuals that's still fighting in that place that we're talking about where you used to be. And so what you are doing now is you are physical hope for people to show that I've been there, done that, understand it all, right? But I also know that there is a way out, right? And so, cousin, I like when he said, I went there, you know, because I knew it would make my mom happy, but I didn't go there because I wanted to go.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So we know that makes a difference in the treatment. That makes a difference in the recovery process. If that's not from your heart, right? If that's not something that you want to do personally, listen here, it doesn't give you that result that you're looking for.
Not at all. Not at all. So we want to move forward. We want you to get us to your lowest, like that. I couldn't believe I got here. What was your lowest?
I would say I went to Warwick in 2015. So in 2015 was when I'm talking about walking around. I haven't had a haircut for like 7 or 8 months. Track marks all on my arms, on my leg. I'm probably weighing in at like 105 pounds. And at a point in my life where like I didn't want to work, I'm 24, ready to turn 25. And like I'm calling my mom at nighttime, asking her, can she stop at McDonald's and get me a double cheeseburger from McDonald's? Like I'm a grown man with no money in my pocket, not eating, you know, not caring what I look like. If I wanted to go get a haircut, I have to call my dad. and try to get some money. I was hopeless. Like, I'm talking about down bad, man. And at that time and point, like I didn't really have no hope. Like, if I'm being honest, it was times when like I would stick a needle in my arm and like I would hope, maybe maybe this will be it, because I'm tired of suffering and I don't know how to get clean. I went to treatment, that didn't work, and I was okay at 24 years old that like, man, I'll probably die before I'm 25 as a drug addict, and I'm all right with that. But in all reality, I really wasn't okay with that. I was just so far gone in active addiction that I just didn't want to live no more.
Jesus. Jesus.
The battle became that severe.
Yeah.
And I believe what you are saying, you gotta excuse me, because man, this topic makes me emotional, because I want to see people win. I want to see people free, and I want to see people healed. And I believe what you just said is what a lot of people feel on the inside.
Yeah.
You're speaking, you are able to verbalize now what so many people really want to say.
Yes.
Right? But you said, I'm saying this, but this is not, there's another part of me saying that I do want to live, but I can't kick this thing.
Yeah.
I think it's too heavy. This thing has overtaken me. This thing has taken me to my lowest point of just not caring.
Yeah.
Right? And so here we are. That is a very low point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And cousin called me before the show started. And she said to me, I'm gonna wear a shirt that speaks something inspirational, because when I think of this young man, that's what I think about. And I said to her, there's a call on his life.
Yes.
And we're talking about right now where you were at your lowest point. We come to encourage somebody on the day.
That's good.
You said I was at my lowest point where you say I'm done. Right? Cousin's shirt says, long story short.
God saved my life.
God saved my life.
Yeah.
Many inspirational shirts. But when I was thinking about what shirt I was going to wear on the show, when I was thinking about the show all day long, if I could show you the dialogue between me and my cousin texting about this show, all I could think about was this word right here for your life.
Purpose. Yes.
Purpose.
Yes.
Your life is purposed.
Yes.
That's what your mind was saying, but God had another plan for your life. And so here we are at this point right here, and you're saying, I don't want to. What was the turning point? Where did the shift come in at?
I was sitting in my kitchen with my mom and my sister on Easter 2015. And we had Easter dinner, just me, my mom, my sister, and my nephew. And I remember, man, my sister sitting at the table, like, she's also one, my mom, my whole family supports me but this particular moment, it was me, my mom, and my sister sitting in my mom's kitchen. And I just remember, like, my sister just crying and asking me, like, why can't you stop? She's like, I don't understand. Why do you have to live like this? Like, why can't you do something different? You've been to treatment. It hasn't worked. We try to come up with these ideas, like nothing's working. Like, I don't want to lose you. I don't want you to die in the streets, but like, why can't you stop? And at that point, I didn't think she really understood how deep this active addiction was for me. But I just remember seeing my mom and my sister's face, man, in 2015. And I said to myself, I gotta give myself a chance. I had this therapist that I talked to, and I'm always been the type of guy, man, like I'm always honest. I'm always open about what I'm going through and what's going on. And she found that treatment facility, Warwick Manor. I can honestly say even when I went there, right? When I left there, I didn't stay clean right away, but I didn't go back home. You know, I went to that treatment facility. It was about a couple of days before I was ready to leave, and I just told my counselor, man, if I go back home where I'm comfortable, I'm gonna put myself with people. I'm gonna put myself in the same neighborhood. I know where to go. I can walk there. I don't need a phone. I'm not gonna stay clean, and I'm gonna end up dying. And I went to that treatment facility in 2015, and I stayed down here. But the disease of addiction is so crazy, right? Because like I still found a way the day I got out of Warwick to go back to Delaware one time, use, and then come back to Maryland to a recovery house. Because I still didn't know if I was ready to stop. Like I would go back and forth, man, so much. I don't want to use, but when that thing is on my shoulder talking to me, sometimes it's hard to shake it off. And 2015 was an up and down year for me. You know, I went to Warwick, I went back home, I went to a recovery house, I got a couple months clean. I think I had like 90 days clean. I got kicked out of the recovery house. I went to another recovery house. I kept using. I went back home, continued to use, then came back down here in October of 2015 because I said to myself, the only place I've ever got any type of clean time was on the Eastern Shore. And I felt like when I went back home after being down here, it wasn't even about like being in a dark place. It was just about the years that I've spent in Claymont, Delaware doing that, and the 90 days that I spent up here clean. And I said to myself, I'm tired of living this way, man. Like I'm just tired, you know, and now I'm gonna go down there and give it 100% shot. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give my all. I'm gonna take some suggestions. I'm gonna get a sponsor. I'm gonna do step work. I'm gonna find some people who really, you know, got some clean time and are really trying to live a new way of life and be productive members of society. And that's what I did. And you know, my story, relapse is a part of my story, right? Like I had years clean from October 2015 to October 2017, and then I relapsed after having 2 years clean. And even just sitting here thinking about that, man, like I know what I did wrong. I know what happened, because it wasn't like I wasn't happy, you know?
Yeah.
Those 2 years was the best 2 years of my life. But for me, when I started dealing with somebody back home, and I like kind of like disconnected myself from the program of Narcotics Anonymous, from my the people in my recovery house, my sponsor, my sponsees, and I started hanging back around with the same dudes I hung with when I was in active addiction. But I thought I was okay because I had 2 years clean.
And let me tell you something. Listening to you makes me think about how powerful the mind is, right? But then you still had the drugs that's affecting the mindset all the more. You know, they always say a mind is a terrible thing to waste, but the mind is very powerful. That mind have us doing all kind of stuff. But I commend you sharing that part, because a lot of times, you know, we can miss detail, and you just shared some detail right there. And like cousin said, we just appreciate your transparency so much, and we definitely believe that you're helping some people. I want to share something with you that I realized about the word recovery, because we hear it, but a lot of times people just think what people have their own, you know, definition of what recovery is. But this is what I found out about recovery. It's about the get back. That's in Latin. That's what it is. It's get back. It's getting back, and getting back what we lost. Now, my struggles weren't your struggles. I don't have your story, but I definitely had some things that I had to recover from. So I had to get myself back together, my mind, you know, healing, all that stuff. Everybody has a different journey, and this one just happened to be yours. But I think about how, you know, you persevered, you know, even when you didn't know what that was going to look like, you know, and you could have just quit and gave in. But, and as cousin said earlier, God had a plan. Even when you thought that needle, one of them last needles was going to be it, God said not so. See, when he has a plan, it doesn't even matter what the enemy does. It won't work. It'll form, it might even manifest, but it doesn't mean it's when God has when you're sealed, like when you're chosen for such a time as this, the enemy he can only do so much. But just the fact that you kept persevering, and guess what? God knew all along that heart. He knew your mind was doing its own thing, but he knew deep down you really didn't want to die. Like you thought you did, but inside you really didn't want to go out like that. Nah, you didn't want to go out like that. And so I'm just so grateful to God that I was able to, work alongside you. So we're gonna move into,
But hold on 1 second, because I just want to share one. I listened because words mattered.
Yes.
I listened to him say, I went to rehab because of my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to a low place. And then I heard my mom and my sister. I heard. Then I heard him say he got to talk with himself.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of this.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. For all those that are watching and viewing and want out, you got to have a conversation with yourself and mean it. I heard him say, I want out.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started to seek out places of his. See, once you have that mindset, once he was ready to shift,
mm-hmm.
Didn't say the opposition wasn't going to come.
Right.
But he was ready to shift. And then I heard him say he went and then he realized he couldn't go back.
To the same. Mm-hmm.
He was able to identify some triggers,
yes.
some red flags. I
yes.
can't go back home.
Mm-hmm.
If that place is not safe for me. It's true that you really do have to change people.
You do, places and things. Yep.
It's necessary for survival.
Very.
Right? He wasn't strong enough to go back to those places yet. And now he's starting to admit some things to himself.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's realizing he's now talking to the man who he sees in the mirror.
Yeah.
Right? And now we're starting to see results.
Yes.
Did he fall? Yeah, he fell.
Mm-hmm.
But he was able to say, okay, wait, I see why that happened.
Uh-huh.
No longer making excuses.
That's right.
All right.
But
so
he was trying to find solutions then. That's basically, it was
the
like
mindset had
mm-hmm.
shifted.
That's right.
You got to shift the mindset. It's important to shift the mindset.
Yep.
Right? Until you shift your mindset, it don't matter what nobody say.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah. And also another thing is the shifting of the mindset allowed room for God to move.
Yeah.
See, I believe there's a lot of people that addiction, and Andre, you can comment on it. There's a lot of people that addiction has took out of here.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
A lot of individuals have died, unfortunately, from overdose.
Mm-hmm.
It's happened. It's true. I believe God had a plan for all of their lives.
That's right.
Come on now. There's a plan for everybody's life. But listen, he can't work where we don't give him room to work.
Mm-hmm.
When you shifted your mindset, because what you don't understand is, listen here, there was a word that was spoken over your life.
Yes.
And I'm assuming from reading a message, right? Your mom commented and said, I'm so proud of you, son. And then there was a pastor who commented last night. I'm reading these text messages and I'm telling you right now, Andre, my spirit was jumping. Yes. There was a pastor who then commented and said that she was proud of you. I don't know this pastor. She said that she was proud of you. And she said that the Lord is going to do great things in your life. And she told your mother that she was proud of you and she hasn't seen nothing yet. Mm-hmm. Your mom came back and spoke the words that you spoke over his life.
Yes.
I need you to hear what I'm saying. This is why I know you have purpose. This is why I know God saved your life. There was some words that were spoken over your life. Your mother said the words that were spoken over your life helped her during the most difficult times of your life.
Mm-hmm.
There was a word, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened is when your mind shifted, now you have given God room to work.
Yes.
Right.
And every word that has been prophesied over your life, as long as you give God room to work, I want you to hear what I'm saying, young man, because I believe the world ain't seen nothing yet.
Mm-mm.
Everything that you went through, it was for your good. And that's what you're going to help somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
But everything that has been spoken over your life, as long as you give God room to work,
He can
You
work.
ain't seen nothing yet. You
Yes.
have not seen nothing. I want you to hear what I'm saying. You have not seen nothing yet.
Yeah.
This is the beginning of great works for you.
Yeah. And everybody does have a yet, but the yet is based on your yes to God. Your yes, because he doesn't force anything.
Right.
You know, and as cousin said, your ministry may not be behind no pulpit, but you definitely got a street ministry and on the court. That's because you sharing your testimonies, helping other people. You know what I mean? You saving folk when you open your mouth. That's why you can't be quiet.
Right.
You can't be quiet. So when I called you, when we were talking about our shows and our topics, so we're strategic. We don't believe in just doing anything just to be doing it. We that's not where we're at. Everything that we do has to be purposeful. So when we were talking about one of the topics was recovery, and we were like, who do we, you know, and God instantly put you on my mind. And so cousin asked me like how many years you have been clean, and I told her, and she was like, are you sure? I said, all I gotta do is ask. I'm gonna ask. And so when you responded back and you called me, you was like, with no hesitation, yes, I'm ready. I'm gonna do this. And let me tell you something. Because you did this, this is another leap. You're overcoming all the more. Every time you share it, you are overcoming. And I love when you were talking about the steps in the step program. So that's what every day is. It's step, one step at a time. It's not about getting to the end right away. It's step by step. And you definitely have a calling. You definitely matter. And I just think about your now, because working with you, and I didn't grow up around you, I only knew what you shared with me, but working with you, I seen, you know, how you were so family oriented. You would bring your nephew on the trips and stuff like that. And, you know, just being hands-on with the kids, very manneral, you know, you have your mannerism. Like, so I know mom put in that work. You know, you were a gentleman. And I wanted to publicly say that you were a gentleman. We worked in close proximity. You were a gentleman the whole time. And the only thing I would want you to change, you can drop the miss and call me sis, okay? Because she's like, oh, don't make me feel so. just call me sis, okay? Okay.
Yeah.
But
I got you.
I've been able to experience your now with you, working with those you trying to save them, telling them your story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'm just so elated that this is just a step. You know, you're going to have more opportunities to share. You're going to have more opportunities to be a light and a witness. And we definitely want to bring you on board for some things that we desire to do. So, cousin, I'll let you go because I'm feeling like
listen, so I want to talk about his now. So we heard about that last time that you used, and you was able to identify why, and you realized you had went back into some old places. Take us from that point to now.
All right. I celebrated 2 years in October 2017. It was like the second week of October. Then I relapsed like November 1st or something like that. And my relapse was from November to December 6th. My last day using is December 6th. And I'll never forget it because, you know, I was going back and forth down 301, going to Delaware. And I was driving back. You know, it's like an hour, 45-minute drive. I'm driving back, no music. I had used, and I just was driving on the highway doing about 45 miles an hour, man, no music, with tears coming down my eyes, asking myself, how did I get here? I know how I got here because I know how I got the 2 years clean that I got, and I stopped doing what I was doing when I was in recovery. So I know how I got here. And I picked up the phone, I called my sponsor, and I'm like, man, listen, I'm driving back to Maryland. I need to move back in the recovery house. I give you my phone. I give you my car keys. I give you my wallet. I give you everything I got. And I mean, I don't want to do this no more. Like, I'm ready to get back to being happy, you know, and loving myself again. And that's what I did. December 7th, I moved into a recovery house. That was in 2017. I've been clean ever since. And I came back with the same intentions, man, of like going to meetings, going to IOP, getting a sponsor, doing step work, reading literature, reaching out. You know, I already had a network because I had some clean time before, and just taking it one day at a time, you know. And over the last 5 years, man, as y'all know, you know, I had a son who Man, on my worst days, clean, man. Like, you know, because life is not always easy. You know what I'm saying? Just because I got clean does not mean that every day is going to be great. And that doesn't mean that I'm not going to think about using. You know, I used to ask myself, like, man, with the clean time that I got, like, if I share about I want to get high, like, are people going to judge me? But at the end of the day, like, I'm a drug addict. I'm just in recovery. I got 5 years clean, so the thoughts still won't come, but thoughts aren't facts. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can think about using, I just don't gotta act on it. And if I go into a meeting and I share about it, usually the thought goes away. And as long as I don't obsess about the thought, you know, think about it for a couple minutes. All right, come on, man. Like, we're not going back to that, you know, and keep it moving. But even on my worst days, man, like that little boy that's in the living room with my girlfriend right now, you talking about motivation. Of course, like, I did this for myself, right? Like, when I came in here this last time, I'm like, I'm not doing it for my mom. I'm not doing it for my friends. I'm not doing it for nobody but me. You know, I want to be clean. But today, like, it's not just about me. You know what I'm saying? Because like, I got to show up as a father. You know, as a friend, as a brother, as an employer, but most importantly, like, for him. Because y'all know, man, a lot of kids grow up without fathers. And one thing that I'm not gonna let happen is Baby Dre grow up without his dad, or Baby Dre see his dad in active addiction, because he don't know that guy that was in active addiction, sticking needles in his arms and smoking crack. He's never seen that guy, and he don't have to.
No, he doesn't.
That's good stuff.
Doesn't have to.
And I honestly believe, man, that like where I'm at today in my life, like, as long as I continue to do the things I need to do, he's never going to see that person.
Wow. I love that. I love that. And I got to see him before we got on. He was like, who's that? He's so cute. He is so cute. So let's share a little bit more about your support system, because we one of the things we were talking about earlier is a beautiful thing to have it. Everybody doesn't have it. And, you know, we wind it down, you know, to the end of the show, this interview, but to have that, as Cousin was saying, everybody doesn't have that. How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel?
Makes me just feel loved, you know, and it also reminds me that, like, the things that my mind was telling me when I was in active addiction wasn't true. You know, that was just me being caught up in the grips, because I could easily say, like, oh, my family don't care about me. My family doesn't love me, so I'm gonna go get high. Like, nah, that wasn't the case, because as you can see, like, my family shows up. I got NA family that's not intermediate family, but I mean, they show up on a daily basis. When I celebrated 5 years clean, man, my family it was like 30 of them that came down here to drop 2 hours to Cambridge, Maryland, to sit in the church and listen to me share my story.
Wow.
And I truly believe that if it wasn't for my Narcotics Anonymous network, man, like, the guys in my network who I can get vulnerable with, it's been multiple dudes that I'm talking about, I've like real tears cried on their shoulders, or vice versa. And, you know, as men growing up or coming in Narcotics Anonymous, we got this mask on that, like, oh, we can't get vulnerable with another dude. We can't cry to, you know, they'll think we're soft, but like all that, for me, that was just a mask, man. Today, like, all my homeboys in Narcotics Anonymous to tell you that I go in the meeting, I share with them, I share in the meeting, I cry on their shoulders, I cry in the meeting, because, like, at the end of the day, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get another day clean.
Yeah. One day at a time, man. That's all we're required to do.
That's it.
When we try to live more than one day at a time, that's too much.
Yeah.
That's all. It's too weighty. It's too heavy. Even for those who are not struggling with addiction, all we are required to do is live one day at a time.
That's it. One day at a time. And so just know, we encourage all of our listeners, just know if you have that support system, reach out to them. You know what I mean? You don't have to be islands.
I said, pick the phone up, call somebody.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, a lot of times people suffer in silence by choice, or pride gets in the way. And I'm glad that you even shared about, you know, men can cry, because when you don't shed tears, that keeps you prideful. But God is closest to those that are of a contrite spirit, a broken heart. That's when God, because that's saying, okay, I can get in. It's like breaking up that fallow ground of the heart. God can really get in. And that's all he wants. That's what he wants for all of us, just to be able to come in and love on us and show us that we have purpose. He has need of us. And so we're so, again, elated that you shared this time with us, and all those that, you know, are on here. Anything you want to say that we didn't add, anything you want to share to any of those that are listening right now, or may come back and see this later, anything you want to say, you have that liberty to do so.
Just want to let everybody know it's possible, man. I say that because when I was in my active addiction, I didn't think I could get a day clean. And like today I sit here with 5 years. So if I can do it, anybody can. You just gotta open up. You gotta get vulnerable. You gotta call somebody. You gotta ask for help. Because the longer you stay quiet, the worse it's gonna get. And I'm saying that with experience, because there was so many times, man, where I wanted to reach out for help, or I wanted to cry out for help, but I didn't want to be judged, or I didn't want to be called a dope fiend or a crackhead or a junkie. But at the end of the day, like, my pride was getting in the way. Because if I would have reached out earlier, thankfully, I'm glad I went through what I went through. But because like you said, there's a lot of people out here dying who didn't reach out. I don't know, I'm ready to bring my son in here real quick.
Okay. I want you to bring your son in, and I want to share this with you before you go get your son. I heard you say, I'm just a drug addict in recovery. Right? That's not who you are.
Yeah.
I want you to hear what I'm saying. That's not who you are. That's who you used to be.
Right.
From this day forward, every word that you speak out of your mouth over you, speak something different.
Yes.
Right.
You are a man of God with purpose,
right,
with a story to tell, who shall live and not die,
right,
and declare the works of the Lord. Now, no, speak something that's who you used to be.
Right.
I got a lot of stuff I used to be too.
Yeah.
Right. But when I speak of myself now, I speak something different. And so that's what I want you to do. I'm excited for your future. I'm happy for you.
Yes.
I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you.
Thank
and
you.
I know this won't be the last time that I hear your name.
No.
But let us see who makes you proud. Let us see.
This is awesome. This was awesome.
Let us see. Look, we see the smile on his face already. Let us see.
Hey.
Absolutely handsome.
Hey, little Dre.
Hey.
Handsome young man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, we see the smile.
No, listen.
We see the smile that he actually puts on your face. Continue to be that great father. Continue to make memories with him. Right? Remember what you said. What he don't know, he don't have to know.
It's a fact.
You continue to make life great for you and him. Hi, little Andre. How are you doing? Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you.
It's here.
He be talking.
Here. Why got that in here?
The light.
Why you got that in here?
Don't
you love that curiosity?
Yes,
I love it.
That's a blessing. Go
So
ahead.
I'm just gonna say, so again, Andre, we appreciate you. We want you to stay motivated, stay encouraged. Remember, it's a one day at a time. And when you said something to the viewers about reaching out, anybody that's struggling, because when we hungry, a closed mouth don't get fed. So when we hungry, we're gonna open up our mouth and say something. So if we want something different, we do need to open up our mouths and just ask for help. Let's get that pride out the way. So again, thank you. We appreciate you. We want you to enjoy this holiday time. Love on your family. Tell your mom we said hello, because next year, Lord willing, when we host our live recording, we want you in the place. We want you to bring your family.
Okay.
We might have some things for you, so we will give you details. But reach out if you ever need us. I appreciate you so much.
Absolutely.
Until next time, y'all. It's Rare Talk. Hit us up at itsraretalk@gmail.com. You know, follow us, share. Y'all share this. This was so good. This was so good. Until next time.
I truly appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. Listen here. Keep doing it, man.
I got you.
Keep doing it. Keep doing that. Proud of you. Until next time, it's Rare Talk, y'all, where everything is rare, authentic, real experiences. We are so grateful for the interview with Andre Childs. Until next time.
That's what it is, y'all. Be blessed.
All right.
Ready? Are y'all ready? Because it's Rare Talk. Authentic, real experiences. That's what it is.